Hello, hello, hello. Hello, beautiful and amazing people. How are you guys? Welcome back to another masterclass. I'm super excited that you guys are here. So this masterclass is brought to you guys by 7 Ways to Wealth. And tonight we have an amazing masterclass and an amazing guest speaker. So some of you guys might be familiar with her. Some of you guys might not be familiar with her, so allow me to reintroduce our guest speaker. But before I even get into introducing our guest speaker, I want to know how you guys are doing. So if you guys want to come off mute, if we want to chat for 60 seconds, let me know how you're doing. How's your week going? It's Thursday, the weekend is almost here. You want to come off mute?
I'm doing great. This is Gerda. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, awesome, Gerda. We're so excited. We're so excited that you're here. So thank you. Anybody else?
This is Derek. I'm
Hey,
here.
Derek.
How you doing, Christina?
What's up? What's up? How are you?
All right, just good.
Okay, awesome. I called you yesterday, right?
Yes, ma'am, you did.
All
You
right.
woke me up, but I
That's what I'm here for. I'm here to wake you up, Derek.
all
Okay,
praises. Thank you so much.
all right. So who else? Who's in the building?
Good
Portia.
evening, everyone.
Okay, Portia. What's up, girl? How are you?
I'm feeling supreme.
Oh, I know. What? Did y'all hear the word that she used? Y'all need to learn something, okay? Y'all need to learn something from Portia. She said supreme. Oh my gosh. That's on
Yes.
another level. I love it. All right, Queen. Thank you. Who else? Who's here? Who else is here?
Maria.
Well,
NECA, I'm here. This is NECA. Just ran out of
Hey,
this. I
NECA.
just,
So NECA, does your name stem? Is that a Nigerian name? Because the NECA, I know
yes.
she's Nigerian. Okay.
Yeah, we had this conversation, you and I, like last October when
Yeah,
I
when I
started
pronounced
the class.
it.
Uh-huh. And I literally just ran out this 12-hour nursing shift. I was like, let me get in the car because this class is about to start. So I gave that quick report.
I love that. And my friend, that her name is NECA, she's also a nurse too.
I know, you told me. I know. See,
Oh,
great minds, great minds. Yeah.
oh, I love that. Okay, okay. I love it. I love it. Okay, so I hope that everyone's week is going very well. We got some big news coming. So just stay tuned for all of the new announcements. So stay connected on Facebook, stay connected on Telegram. You guys are also going to receive text messages and emails for all of the announcements that we got coming. Okay. So we have things planned for you in quarter 3 and in quarter 4. But let's kick off this amazing masterclass, you guys. So I'm super duper duper excited for our guest speaker today. So her name is Gerda Pierre. She is the founder of Solomon Financial Solutions, you guys. And Miss Pierre is here to educate you guys tonight. So what she's going to be teaching on is for you to bank on yourself, right? So you definitely need to practice what we call like the private money banking system. And so that is that little bit of like a shift that you need to take in order for you to propel to financial freedom. So she is about to dive into that information so that you guys could get to the next level, right? We're here to build a solid foundation so that we could build that generational wealth. And Gerda is the key to us unlocking and moving forward when it comes to building our legacy and preserving wealth, right? Because we never think about that. And so she's about to get into that, and I'm super excited. So thank you so much, Gerda, for agreeing to come in and educate the community. We really, really, really need it, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day. So you definitely have the floor, Miss Pierre.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm so happy to be here. And just to throw something out there, I'm also a wealthy trustee. So that's how I came across Christina. So if you haven't worked with her, her team yet, you are in for a treat because, like I always tell the story, I tell people that I got a trust and it was created by an attorney, but he called it my name. So it's no, it's not anonymous, it's my name. And when I asked him what would I need to put for the tax ID number, he told me my social security number. So it wasn't until I met Christina that I really learned a wealth of knowledge. And so I just wanted to just share that and give her flowers um, while I can and in front of the world. And so she can replay it over and over again. So just thank you, Christina, for the opportunity. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Gerda. I appreciate you as well.
So,
I love that, I love your testimony and how, things were not done the right way, but you went and seek the knowledge and information. Now you're making those correct changes so that you could protect your assets.
yes. So I'm excited to be here. So I'm gonna just give me a moment. Hi, Miss Kyrie. That's one of my clients. So I told her when she sees me on here, give me a shout out, So I'm so happy to see you. So just give me 1 second. I'm gonna try to get my screen up. So if you guys just give me a moment and just let me know when you can see it, and that would be great. 1 second. Okay, is it showing yet right now or no?
Not yet.
Okay. What about now? No?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So like Christina said, my name is Gerda Pierre. I'm so excited to be able to be here with all of you this evening. And of course, you see the title is Bank on Yourself, right? The simple shift that changes your entire financial future. And the reason why I named it that is because once I found out what I'm going to talk to you about tonight, it shifted my financial future. And I'm gonna be very honest, I'm banking on myself now. So, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what I just recently did and how it worked out for me. And I didn't have to go to the bank to ask them for a loan, and I was able to do it on my own. Give me 1 second. Okay, perfect. So, as Christina stated, I am the founder of Solomon Financial Solutions. And our focus, just to give you a little backstory, I'm the type of person where I don't read off of what's on a slide because everyone can see it, right? It's right there. You're able to read through it and get some information. Except the one thing I do want to correct, it's been 15 plus years and not 14, so I'll have the team correct that. But the story that I do like to give everyone is how I came about with the name of Solomon Financial Solutions. So you'll learn a little bit more about my background on the next slide, but that particular name, I came up with it because I told God if I was going to step away and leave the very thing that I was so happy that He blessed me with, which was a corporate America job where I was in senior leadership and I'm leading an entire department of 100 plus people. Over 8 managers are reporting to me, quality analysts. I told God that if you're telling me that I need to leave and I need to go sow seeds and pour into others, then I'm asking you to bless me with the knowledge that you bless Solomon. And I am a woman of faith. I am a Christian. So I don't know if you're familiar with Solomon in the Bible, but he was the wisest man in the Bible. And so I told God that I was going to give everything to him once I walked away, and I was going to start by honoring my business and giving it to him, even in the name. So just to give you a little bit of that, and give me 1 second because I can't see anybody. One moment. It's like, I don't know if maybe it's a setup of how I'm seeing things. So give me 1 second. Okay, perfect. Did I mess anything up or can you guys still see me? Are we good? I don't even know where the chat is at. So let me pull up, see if I can find the chat too. Okay, perfect. So if you can still see me, you can either come off mute or put
Yeah.
something in the chat and let me know.
We
Yeah,
see you.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
See you.
All right, awesome. Okay, and so this is just a little bit more about me. As I stated before, my name is Gerda Pierre, and I am the founder. I'm also a wealth and mindset strategist. I have been in the insurance industry for over 15 plus years. And when people see me in person, they think I'm this little kid. I promise I'm not a little kid. I still get carded for cough medicine. I just got carded the other day for, I was trying to buy Elmer's spray adhesive glue, and they had to card me for that. So just want to let you know I am an adult. Okay. So, but I've been in the industry for almost 15 plus years. I've held different leadership positions. I've worked for one of the top insurance carriers. And I always like to emphasize to people that it wasn't just one of the top insurance carriers, but it was a Fortune 100 company. And why do I emphasize that? Because yes, I take pride in that I was able to move up in corporate America in the way that I did. As a single mom and not growing up into a family where they were able to pour that knowledge into me. My family are Haitian immigrants, so I always like to share that. And they are my biggest why, as well as my daughter. But to give you a little background, I gave you a little background as to why I named it Solomon Financial Solutions, but I want to give you a little bit of background as to what my focus was, or what my push was, I should say, that caused me to reflect in terms of what I was really doing as far as my impact, right? And what I was really doing once I found out the knowledge that I found out, how I can serve others and give it to them. So as you see right here on the screen, I started off in leadership, and like many of you, I'm working a 9 to 5, right? And I am thinking I'm doing big things because I'm signing up for all the benefits that I got. I signed up for my employer-sponsored insurance, life insurance. I told them to give me 6 or 7 times, whatever the cap was that they could give me of my salary. If something were to happen to me, to go to my daughter, I paid for everything as a max. So I thought I was doing it big because I was covered, right, with life insurance. It wasn't until, and let me actually back up. And then I was a faithful, diehard Dave Ramsey follower. Yes. And why is that important? Because I was like, Dave Ramsey said, buy term, invest the rest. So guess what? I'm going to buy term and I'm going to invest the rest just like he told me. So that's exactly what I did. And I remember calling the guy, or not even calling the guy, just kind of let him know down on the 3rd floor. I was on the 5th floor. I called them down on the 3rd floor, let them know I was looking to get a policy. The guy comes up, I meet him in the cafeteria, and he writes me a policy, and I got $1 million term policy. Okay. And I walked out of that break room just feeling like I was floating, because I was like, yes, I got $1 million term policy. Dave Ramsey told me to buy term, invest the rest. I feel great. But it wasn't until I started to hear grumblings of becoming your own bank. And it was a person that I actually met at an event for the National Black MBA conference. They had an event, and I remember speaking to him, and he was a financial advisor, which is so interesting because he's the one who told me about, when he met with me to kind of go over some things for my finances, he's the one who told me, you need to read the book, What Would the Rockefellers Do? Okay. So this is the first time I heard it. I said, okay, I wrote it down from the meeting, but to be very honest, I didn't take any additional steps, okay? I didn't go get the book or look up on the book, nothing. It wasn't until I kept hearing this thing about becoming your own bank, that I decided, okay, well, let me look into it. And then I started to do my own research because I grew up, I was a nerd, I still low-key am, and I started doing my own research, and I then decided, okay, there is something that I thought, I went to school, got an executive MBA, I'm in leadership, I think I'm doing it great, right? And I'm like, wow, there's something that I just found out that I didn't know that I didn't know. And think about many of you. There are so many things that we don't know that we don't know. And so it was at that point that I started to realize there is something that I'm able to do to not just excel the next generation of my family, but also to support and propel me while I'm still alive. Okay. So I started to do my own research, and that's when my mind was blown. And then I started to look back at that interaction that I had in the break room that day with him when he was signing my policy. And it literally was He asked me how much coverage I wanted. I said I wanted 1 million. He didn't ask me why I wanted 1 million. He didn't ask me what I planned to do. Did I have any assets up to 1 million that I needed to cover? He didn't ask me anything. He didn't even introduce whole life to me. He didn't even offer me an IUL. He offered me nothing except sold me that $1 million policy that I just called him up for and told him I want $1 million policy, but he didn't even anticipate my needs or even try to ask me further. So that is something that I didn't understand initially because I thought I'm doing great things. It wasn't until afterwards that I started sitting back and saying, oh my gosh, he did not anticipate my needs. He didn't ask me anything. And he didn't even tell me about whole life. Because yes, I knew whole life was there, but he didn't really explain anything to me. It wasn't until I'm doing my own individual research that I decided to one day call and I said, hey, I'm reading up on some things and I wanted to know, is the term policy that I have, is it a convertible term? Okay. And why is that important? Because a convertible term allows you to change it to either an IUL or a whole life, depending on the carry that you have. So lucky for me, they told me that yes, it was a convertible term and I was able to convert a portion of it or all of it. So at that moment, I converted a portion of it and I left the rest of it as term. Okay. And that is then, okay, same thing. I called and I'm talking to the person on the line. They're like, yep, you can convert a portion of it and leave the rest as term. Same thing. No one anticipated my needs. No one asked me questions. No one told me about anything. And no one even told me that it was going to be building cash value. It wasn't until 4 years later that I decided, because I'm a set it and forget it kind of person. And especially when it comes to my life insurance, that's not a bill for me. That's a mandate. So it wasn't until 4 years later that I then was looking at a statement and I saw that it said I had money built into it. It's about 7,000 at that point. And I'm trying to figure out, are these people saying I owe them money? Because they really didn't outline on it. I'm like, what are they saying? I owe them money? What is this? Did they drop my death benefit? What's happening? It wasn't until I called and they told me that, yes, you've built cash value into it. Every time you were paying your premium, a portion of your funds was paying for the death benefit and a portion was going into the cash value. Okay. So that's what made me go a little further and say, okay, this thing gets deeper. And mind you all, I am still working in corporate America as a senior leader for a Fortune 100 insurance company. And I'm finding out all of this years later. No one was telling me anything. Okay. Why am I sharing that with you? Because I'm putting it into perspective for you that if someone who works in corporate America, in not even corporate America, works for a Fortune 100 insurance company, doesn't even know about the things I'm going to talk to you about, then if I don't even know, then clearly you don't know. And how will you ever know unless someone takes the time to educate you and teach you? Okay. So I just wanted to just give you that background as to the why. And as I started to realize, like, man, I'm finding out all this information and nobody knows because nobody even told me, right? And mind you, here's the other thing. I even got my first IUL before I even left corporate, before it even dawned in my mind to leave corporate and start my own. I was like, oh, I'm doing big things. I already converted. Now I got a whole, okay, now this thing about IUL, let me get an IUL. Same scenario. The guy that I met, well, I say the guy that I met, he my agent. So if he see it, hey, I'm just speaking the truth. He did not anticipate my needs. He barely asked me questions. I was asking questions and it was kind of like, you ever met someone where they don't really want you to ask questions because they don't either know or they don't want to go down that rabbit hole because they feel like if they answer and they give you the response, you might decide you don't want it anymore. So that's how he was speaking to me. And I'm asking different things. Well, what does that mean? Well, what does this mean? Well, what happens about that? Well, can I do this? And it was as if he was kind of going over and pushing quickly. But it was only reason why I went through with it, because again, at this time, I'm not thinking, let me leave corporate and go do my own thing. It's because I did my own research and I felt good about what I was seeing. Okay. But essentially, I was guiding him to create something that I wanted. Many of you don't have that right? You don't have that. So you don't know. So that is when I kind of sat back and I just kind of looked around, and it dawned on me that there are so many people who are not in the position that they want to be in, a position that they could have been in, simply because no one shared the knowledge with them, or because they didn't even know they needed the knowledge to even go seek it. And so that's the reason why I took a step down. I'm just being very honest with you. A six-figure position in corporate America. I'm a single mom and I was doing great. And I walked away and I told God that I was just going to lean on him, because I was going to operate in a position of servitude and to be a servant. So I tell people that I'm not a saleswoman. I'm not a saleswoman. I'm a servant woman. Okay. That is exactly what I am. So that's just a little bit of insight about me that I just kind of wanted to share with all of you. And so all of you are on this call tonight because you want to know more, right? And I just want to encourage all of you while you're on the call. Give me one second. I'm going to move looks like this is okay. Can you guys see? I don't know if you guys were able to see it or if it was in your way, the Zoom link thing. Okay. Are you guys good, or can you see it?
We can see it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Oh, and that's another thing too. Whoever just spoke, thank you so much. So I am very big on, if you're not going to show your face, no problem. I'm fine, right? But I love interaction because it makes me feel like I'm not by myself or sitting in the room alone. So if you can just if you're with me, what do people say? Drop some fire in the chat, right? My clients already know that I love saying that because I see people in the calls and they always say that. And then I'll just kind of, in participation as we go through, I'll ask questions and I'll ask you to drop it in the chat, right? But I wanted to share with you guys my why. Okay. Everybody is on this call for a reason. Everybody is let me turn on the light here. Everybody is on this call for a reason. Everybody is in Christina's community for a reason, because you desire more. But not only do you desire more, you have a why. And that why could be yourself. That why could be your grandchildren, children, family. It really doesn't matter. Everybody has a why. So as we go through this, I want you all to just continue to remember your why. Okay. When you're going through and you're creating your trust, remember your why. Okay. When you are like, oh my God, there's a lot of steps, right? And I got to do what again? Remember your why. Okay. So this is my why. Like I share with you guys, I am a single mother, and I am of Haitian descent. Both my parents are Haitian immigrants. Okay. And why do I like to share that? Because I like to tell people when they see me and they're like, you're so knowledgeable. I love this. I love that. I don't want anyone to assume that I came from knowledge, that I had this experience, and that I'm just this all-knowing person. I am not. I had to go seek the knowledge. Both my parents, a little background, like I said, I'm Haitian. They're Haitian immigrants. Both my parents came to America on a boat. Okay. They came to America on a boat in the 80s. My father came, and some of you who are my clients have heard this story. Those of you who have never seen me, this is going to be your first time hearing it. And so my father, he was the first to leave Haiti. It was 12 of them on a boat. There was only one pair of paddle, or one paddle pair, I guess, right, that they had. 12 of them on a boat. They had one pair. And the rest of them, while two people were rowing with the paddles, the rest of them were using their hands. Okay. Why am I sharing this with you? Because I want you to put things into perspective. The rest of them were using their hands. They did not have a compass. The only way that they knew they were going in the right direction is that the moon. Okay. And the way they knew that, I'm kind of trying not to get emotional, so I'm so sorry. And normally I've never gotten emotional. I've said this story before. So just give me a second. I'm so sorry. This is so embarrassing. Sorry. The only way that they knew they were going in the right direction was because of the moon. And they knew that if the moon was behind them, they were leaving Haiti behind. Okay. And they would stop sailing during the day because they didn't want to get caught. Okay. So they only sailed at night. And so during the day, they kind of just stood still in the middle of the ocean. And if you ever been on a cruise and you stood on the balcony and you looked out, you're like, man, I can't see nothing. Right. So imagine a little boat. When they are about 2 miles off of the shore of Bahamas, the boat starts to sink. So of course, they're strong swimmers. They from the islands. So if you're from the islands, drop some fire in the chat because I know y'all some strong swimmers. Okay. And so what they had to do, the boat starts to sink. So they had to swim to shore and some kind of way maneuver a way to drag the boat with them. When they get to Bahamas, they're homeless for 3 months. They save up enough money. They're fixing up the boat. And what do? They then sail to Miami. And that's how they made it to America. A few months later, he sends for my mother. My mother then comes on a boat with many others. Okay. She's pregnant with my sister, Sheila. And I remember my mom telling me that while she was on the boat, someone stepped on her stomach because they were trying to get from one side of the boat to the other. It was packed. Sometimes they had to drink seawater because they didn't have any more water. So when they were almost here, that boat got stopped by the National Guard. What then next happened is what prevented my mom from going back is she went into labor. And so they then rushed her to the hospital in Miami and my sister Sheila was born. Okay. So I then share that story with you. And as they're here, they worked in orange fields where they were picking oranges for 10 cents an orange. So I just had my daughter a few weeks back, or maybe a month ago, I told her, I said, if someone wanted to make $200 a day doing picking oranges for 10 cents, how many oranges would they have to pick? And she told me 2,000. I said, oh my God, 2,000 oranges for $200. Okay, a day. So again, I'm sharing all of that with you so you understand my why and the reason why I actively seek knowledge and why I'm so committed to giving the knowledge. And I am a vessel. I'm letting God use me as a vessel. And why I'm so adamant of pouring the knowledge that I get into others is simply because my parents, I don't want their journey to be in vain. And if God has blessed me with the knowledge that he's pouring into me, I don't want that knowledge to go in vain. So again, I just wanted to share that with you guys. This is my why. That's my daughter when she was younger, my sisters, my niece and my nephews, and that's my daughter at the bottom who just graduated. So just wanted to share that with all of you. Okay. So now let's talk about your family bank, becoming your bank, banking on yourself. Okay. So many of you, like on social media, you're seeing all these people that are like, oh, put money in here, you take it out and you do what you want, right? And they're kind of just moving and shaking and talking on social media, making it seem like it's a whole microwave, right? But no one's really telling you it's a slow cooker. But what also people don't even tell you is the impact that it can have and the trajectory it can have on your life and your family's life, okay? So I just want to just give you a quick little overview. If you recognize, now listen, I'm gonna need some participation because I know somebody on this call had to have been to Disney World or plan to take their kids to Disney World. If you ever heard of Walt Disney World, please put a 1 in the chat. Or you can come off mute and say, I've been to Disney or I want to go to Disney, something.
I want to go.
Thank you. Thank you. Because I'm like, nobody want to go. No one dropped anything in the chat. So it don't look like anybody want to go to Disney World. So, but yes. So if you've never known that Walt Disney, he actually went to 101 banks. Oh, you know what? You know what? Let me take that back, y'all. I'm so sorry. I digress. I was on the wrong little button for the chat and you all were writing in the chat. I digress. That's my mistake. I love you all. So, Walt Disney, what you guys may not know is that he went to 301 banks when he was trying to start Disney World. 301. Some of us get discouraged, okay, when we go to one bank and they like deny, or some of y'all might be like, let me try 10 at a time, because I think if you try them all at the same time or something about the credit, it don't hit or hit one time. But he went to 301 banks. And nobody wanted to give him anything. Nobody. Okay. It wasn't until he sat back and realized, oh my goodness, I can actually take some money out of my policy or my family bank and go start Walt Disney World. If he didn't have that, there would be no Disney World. Okay. And I'm from Orlando, and I'm Haitian. So, everybody know everybody at Disney World. So I don't know the cost of Disney, but I heard it's expensive. I've never had to pay for Disney. So I'm just saying. But then you also have the Pampered Chef. You also have JCPenney. And why do I really want to take a moment and stop on JCPenney real quick? Because J.C. Penney went through the Great Depression. J.C. Penney had a policy. J.C. Penney understood what having his own private reserve or family bank meant. Because if he didn't have that in place, his whole empire would have collapsed. Okay. Now, I don't know what it's doing today from last time I heard with the stores, right? But he would have never made it as far as he did because he did not have the money to continue his operations. So he was able to go into his family bank and utilize funds to keep operations going for his business. And then there's McDonald's, Ray Kroc. Okay. So Ray Kroc, I know some of y'all probably eating McDonald's right now. If your camera off, you're probably eating McDonald's, probably plan to go to McDonald's. You used to probably work at McDonald's as a teenager. I did. And well, they hired me, but I never got placed on the schedule. So I don't know how that worked. But Ray Kroc, he took 2 loans against his family bank to create more McDonald's. Okay. So I want to just share that with all of you because you have to know that to be able to know what it means. And a lot of times while I'm going through this, I'm sharing a lot of information. And the reason why I'm sharing a lot of information is because I want people's, like I tell my clients all the time, I'm just the liaison, the middleman, right? I'm the person that can get you access to what you're looking for, depending on, like health, income, all of that. But I'm the middleman. I'm the person who gets you access to what you're looking for. Okay. However, I can't tell you what to do with your money. I can't. But reason why I overshare and give so much knowledge is because I want your wheels to be spinning as I'm speaking. I want when I meet with you and you tell me what you ultimately want to accomplish and I tell you, well, this is what it can do, this is what it can't do. I want you to be thinking, oh my God, I could do this, or this is what I plan to do. And if I do it this way, I'll do it that way. That's what I do when I'm over educating you because I need your wheels to be spinning. Why? Because I need you to understand the power of what is going to be in your hands. Okay. Why do you need to understand that? Because it makes no sense to have access to a tool like this and not know how to use it. Okay. And so one thing I actually want to go back on is, it's interesting. I didn't even say before when people used to hear me and people used to like ask, oh, you work in insurance? I used to be very insulted. Okay. When they would ask me, do you sell insurance? Okay. So that kind of has to let you know that life insurance agents have a bad rap. Okay. And when you see people and you say, I sell life insurance, people don't even say it because they feel like it's going to turn people off because they have a bad rap. Why? Because people are not taking the time to educate themselves so that way they can educate you. Okay. It's a continuous education. I'm not going to sit here and say, I did all this stuff and I got an MBA and I was in corporate and all that, and then I'm good. And I just kind of coast each day. No, I'm an active learner. I'm a continuous learner. I'm a lifelong learner. Okay. So I used to be insulted when people used to ask me, do you sell insurance? Excuse me. Absolutely not. Right. To the point that if I told someone, this is what I do, I work for this company, I would say, and I don't sell insurance. I would just stop them in tracks because it's like, don't insult me. But it's crazy how God has a sense of humor because I would always say I would never be a teacher. And my daughter used to always say, you should go teach at a school because I would tutor her and teach her things and other kids at the church and they would get it when I would teach them different concepts, right? And so they would always be like, you should go be a teacher or even in corporate. They're like, you ever thought about going in the training space or anything like that? And I'm always like, no, I'm good, right? I would always be insulted about being a salesperson. No, I'm not that. But it's crazy how God has a sense of humor because the 2 things that I said I would never do ever in my life are the 2 things that I find the most joy in. Okay. And I don't even want to say the sales part. I don't find the joy in that because I'm not a saleswoman. I'm a servant woman. Okay. But I find the joy in teaching. And it's like God put me in a position that I used to be insulted and say, I'm not ever going to go into that space. And then I said, I would never want to be in a place where I'm teaching. And I find joy in it. I get excited when people understand, when people say, I never knew, when people say, I wish I would have known, when people say it makes sense, when people see it and it starts flowing and functioning. All right. And so how am I doing on time? Okay, perfect. Let's see. Okay. So before we even get into the more concept of becoming your own bank, one analogy that I like to give, and I give a lot of analogies, my clients know, and they are crazy analogies, but I promise you they make sense, okay? But what you want to think about as we go through this, what you want to think about as if you're not in Wealthy Trustee yet and you haven't taken the leap yet, that's okay, right? Take your time, but don't take too much time, right? Because time is the one thing that will run out and you can't get it back or replenish it, okay? So what I do want to share is, as you're going through this, whether you're watching Christina or Wealthy Trustees YouTube channels and you're kind of just getting all the knowledge, or you are in Wealthy Trustee and you're doing do it yourself or do for you, and you have access to the courses and all of this stuff. You're on these calls, you're going to the workshops, you're jumping on these master classes. I want every time you do that, I want your mind to be open. So think of it like a parachute. Okay. My mentor, Douglas Ezzy, he says, think of it like a parachute. So if you jump out of a parachute, the only way to save your life is to what? Open the parachute. If you don't open the parachute, well, you already know what's going to happen. Okay. So the only way, think of it like that. The only way that you can save yourself and your legacy is to open the parachute, open your mind. Because if you operate here and it's closed and you're like, well, this and that, and I heard this and I heard that. I already tell you what happened when you jump out the parachute. Open the parachute, okay? So what I want to kind of share here is when we're looking at the U.S. household debt, okay? These are some numbers that those of you who have sat in like some of the workshops that I've facilitated before or seen me speak somewhere else, these numbers were actually lower before and they've skyrocketed, okay? But just look at the numbers. 42.7 million Americans have student loan debt and it's 1.78 trillion, okay? 1.18 trillion outstanding in credit card debt, okay? Medical debt, 220 billion owed by how many people? 14 million adults, with 3 million owing $10,000 plus, okay? Mortgage debt, 12.8 trillion in outstanding balances. And I can't wait till I get to like the live, because I'm just going to do like a live visual. Everyone who knows me or seen me present, I like to do live visuals. And just to give you a heads up, if you have been here for the first time, I'm letting you know now, I have beautiful handwriting. I promise I do, okay? But I'm going to be using the mouse to draw today when I do this live visual. So it's going to look a little ugly, but I promise you're going to follow, okay? But then you have auto loan debt, you have 1.64 trillion outstanding, and total household debt is 18.2 trillion, okay? So now we have how many advisors, okay? We have all these different advisors. All right. You have 300,000 financial advisors. And actually, when I had the last statistics that I was using and the statistics I was using before, they were from years prior, right? So maybe 4 or 5 years statistics ago. So it used to say 440,000. Now it's 902,500 life insurance agents. You got 1.3 million attorneys and you got about 672,000 CPAs. So if you have all these professionals, and it's actually over 3 million. If you add all of that up, all of these professionals, we have over 3 million professionals across the US. Why do we have 42.7 million Americans in student loan debt? Why do we have people who have 1.6 trillion outstanding in auto loan debt? Why do we have so many people in debt if we got all these professionals that's supposed to help us get out of debt? Well, I'll tell you why. That's because they got debt too. They don't know. I just told you I went to school and I got an executive MBA, whoop-de-doo. But no one ever taught me anything over here. And I don't want to take that from anybody saying, oh, they didn't teach me and act like they kept it from me. Maybe they didn't know. Because think about it. If I didn't find out this knowledge, how would I be able to then come to you and say some things? Or how would I be able to come to you and educate you on some things? They don't know because they're in debt too. So give me 1 second. All right, perfect. Can you see my screen? Everybody
Yes.
good? Can you see? Okay. So I just want to give you a little bit more statistics, right? Now, exactly, Mandy, amongst other things. There's a lot of things we don't know, and there's a lot of things we don't even know that we don't know. So that's why I say always move with your mind open to receive. Well, you got to have a filter too, because some of the stuff you be learning don't be right, okay? But we want to talk about like why most Americans are trapped, right? Why they're trapped in a financial cycle. Well, 78% of Americans, they live in they live paycheck to paycheck. I used to live paycheck to paycheck. Let's talk about it. Let's be real. Okay? It is year 2025. I moved to Georgia in 2015, in June of 2015, as a single mom with a second grader. Okay. And at that time, I was only making about 45,000. Ain't that crazy? What God can do when He tell you to move your feet and leave those behind, your family behind. You don't understand that He's taking you into another land. That's a whole different thing, okay? It's crazy how He takes you to one place you don't understand. You got to kind of go through a journey, and it's something He's bringing you on another side. But I moved to Georgia in 2015 in June. I was making about 48,000, and my daughter was going to private school when we were in Florida, and I was only able to afford private school because I lived with my parents, okay? And so I was able to save there, help them with some bills, and pay for private school. We moved here, couldn't pay for it anymore. So I was living paycheck to paycheck. But I was happy because I'm not even happy. I was just feeling like I was doing good because my bills were paid. I never had any issues. I was paying my bills on time, everything. It wasn't until one day I overlooked an expense and forgot something was going to come out. And it came out. And guess what else was due? My light bill, the electric bill. Okay. And I remember like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. And I literally was trying to figure out, Lord, if this light gets turned off, then I won't have AC. My daughter is going to start coughing because she has upper respiratory. It's not going to be good. So then it dawned on me, oh my God, I have a gift card from my job that they gave me, a $200 gift card that I got because I was the highest performer. Okay. That I said, and back then it was a Visa gift card. So I was like, thank you, Lord. But I didn't know if it was going to work or not. So I remember saying, Lord, please let this work. And I went online to my online portal, put the card number in for the gift card, and it worked. And I said, thank you, Lord. And my lights didn't get cut off. I'm sharing that with you to also let you know I have been there. I know what it means. Okay. I'm not just up here like, yeah, do this, do that, as if I'm just running all this stuff and I got everything going on. No, I've been there. Okay. So 78% living paycheck to paycheck. Okay. 60% of those earning over 100,000. Okay. I'm just left with, like I said, corporate. When I left, I know a lot of people who making over six figures and paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because now the income goes up. Now they think they need to get all this extra stuff. Expenses go up. Okay. Because high income doesn't equal financial freedom. Lack of strategy keeps people stuck. Okay. We have the average household has about $250,000 of debt, and they pay over $6,000 a year in interest. And that's not even including their mortgage. Okay. And if you think about it, that is wealth that's being transferred to who? To the banks, instead of being built for who? Your future and your legacy's future. Okay. You have 21% of Americans who actually feel confident about retirement. Okay. If you ever been to Walmart or Target, wherever you've been, and you've been wondering like, oh, they're so sweet. The elderly there, they're so sweet. Some of them are working there because their kids are older, grandkids are older. They don't live near and they just want companionship and closeness and be around people. But many of them worked for long years. Many of them had a pension that they left or retired and thought they were doing great. But guess what? That pension ran out. Many of them lost their pension. Okay. So you have $285,000 is the median net worth of white families compared to 44,900. Let's just add 100 on it and say 4,500 median net worth of Black families. Okay. In your lifetime, if you put a 1 in the chat, because I need to know that I'm not the only person in America that has ever said, if only I had $1 million, Or if somebody gave me $1 million, this is what I would do. If you've ever said it, put a 1 in the chat. If you never said it, great. Let me borrow some money because that means you have $1 million or you have access to it. And I need to know how we can make this work, right? But what you don't realize is that many of you on this call have been millionaires over and over again or have been a millionaire by now. Some of you on this call may be a millionaire or millionaire times 2, times 3, times 4 by the time you retire at 65. But guess what? You're never going to see that money. Why? Because money is always what? Moving. Money is always moving. And so we make all this money and it's gone. But here's the other thing. You don't have a money problem. You have a money flow problem. But another thing I want to throw out, and I'll throw that out like when we get a little further down in the slides, you're going to see I'm going to break down how that dollar really breaks down, right? But I also want to tell you that only 3% of Americans have a written financial plan. Why am I emphasizing that? Because I'm going to be honest. When I was paycheck to paycheck, I didn't have a written financial plan. My paycheck was deposited and I was happy. I was like, okay, I got my money deposited and I know I got to pay this bill, this bill, this bill. That's not a financial plan. That's a budget. A financial plan is saying, I want to do this. I want to accomplish this, right? This is what my goal, my financial goal is. This is what I have. And this is what I'm going to do to get there. Because without a plan, most people are reacting to money, not directing it, okay? Over 50% of adults, and these are things that, like I said, I'm a little nerd, I be reading, okay? But over 50% of adults don't have enough money or don't even have enough savings to cover $1,000 emergency. Over 50%. That means there are 86 people on the call. That means 43 of you don't have enough savings to cover $1,000 emergency if it happened right now. Because one unexpected expense can derail your entire household. One unexpected expense, okay? And so I just kind of wanted you to put that into perspective because the average American is going to earn over $2 million in their lifetime, yet they're going to retire with an average of what, $60,000 in assets, and that's including the equity in their home, okay? Because it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep and grow that matters. Okay. All right. Perfect. Let's see. Can you see the next slide? I need to get a little bit more tech savvy, y'all. Okay. Perfect. So as you can see, and as I've shared, I am Black, I am Haitian, I am African American. I identify with all of it. Okay. And what I do know is that there is a large disparity between us and our white counterparts. Let's just be honest, okay? I have a lot of white people in my family, by the way, okay? Got a lot of white cousins, okay? And they know we've had these conversations, but there is a large disparity and there's a racial wealth gap. And it's as a result of life insurance misconceptions. Okay. I kind of already shared with all of you. And listen, let me pause for a moment. I normally don't do this, but I don't know. I just kind of got the feel, and when the Holy Spirit moves me, I speak because I never want to be the person to hear something and not do it. If you know someone that you're like, yeah, they be struggling. They need to get it together. They need to do something. They need to hear this. Then you need to send them the link. Because it's not going to be your responsibility to force them to listen. But if you know someone that needs the knowledge, then it is your responsibility to share it with them. Okay. Whether they log on or not, that's not of your concern. Okay. But it's you taking that step to then say they need this information. And we haven't even got to the live visualization to help you even figure out, right? We're still just trying to get the parachute open. But if we take a closer look, 33% of white families, okay, 33% of white families receive more than $5,000 of inheritance. Okay, you might be like, Gerda, that's nothing, right? That's why I said 33%. If 33% of white families are receiving more than five, and I'm sorry, let me digress. That is a lot. They're receiving more than 5,000, right? If 33% are receiving more than 5,000 and only 10% of Black families are receiving more than 5,000, then that means the rest are getting $5,000 or less. Okay. Remember, I was telling you, I was buy term, invest the rest. That was in my mind. I was like, I'm buying term, invest the rest. Excuse me. 75% of Black families, or Black Americans, I should say, overestimate the cost of life insurance. What do I mean by that? That means that, and I'll be very honest with you, when I meet with people, and let's just be, can I be real? If I could be real, can y'all drop a fire in the chat? Because I don't want y'all to like be like bloop, bloop, bloop. And then people start dropping off the call and they're like, oh, forget her, right? Can I be real for a minute? Put a fire, take off mute, say yes, because I need permission first. Okay. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate it. When I meet with some clients, not all my clients, right? I have a very good mixture of clients, okay? I will tell you this. There are, I'm just going to throw a number out there. Let's say I have 60 of my clients, I have 100 clients. 60 of them are African American. Let's say 20 are Caucasian and 10 are Hispanic, or 15 are Hispanic, 5 are Asian, right? The main ones, and I don't even want to say the main ones, out of the 60 African Americans I have, it's probably about a good 15, 20. When they meet with me, it's like, I don't want to pay, as much, or can I just not get that? Or how much can I put in there that's not going to be, well, what's going to be the cost? Whereas on the other side, it's like, how much can I put in max funding? But that's why I said out of my 60 African Americans in this example, it's about 15, 20. It's not all of them, because I got a lot that are like, hey, I need to know how much I can dump in so I can get this cooking. Okay. But why is that? We don't want to fault them and say, oh, or anything like that. Because, some people out there and they try to make it, oh, that's because they're thinking like this. No, it's not. It's because they don't know, or they've been misled. Let's be real. They've been misled or misinformed. And if you're misinformed, you can only go by the knowledge that you receive. And so they overestimate the cost of insurance. It's really not. It's really not what you think it is. So that's why I like to break it down to people and overeducate to show them what it really looks like. Okay. 56% of African Americans own life insurance, which is interesting because 56% of African Americans own life insurance, which is slightly above the national average. The national average is 52%. Okay. However, even though 56% of African Americans own life insurance, remember that statistic I told you, only 10% own more than 5,000. That means majority of those people, about 90% of that 56% own 5,000 or less. Okay. Because even though they own life insurance and they're outpacing the national average of 52%, okay, again, only 10% are going to receive a meaningful inheritance. And even though I say, let me back up real quick, even though I say that 10% have more than 5,000, okay, isn't 10,000 more than 5,000? Is it 6,000 more than 5,000? It is, but is it enough? Does it create a generational stream? I just like to call things what they are, which is why I like to say life insurance is for your life. Why do we get it confused and think about death? But again, that's because people in my position who have the ability to educate don't go educate themselves so they could properly educate you. And then they misinform you. Why? Because some of them are moving like salesmen and not servants. Okay. So compare that to the 33% of white families. And so it shows a structural gap in generational wealth transfer. Okay, exactly. King Howard, death benefit is the bonus. It's exactly what they said it is. You go get a job right now, they're going to say, you're going to ask them, what are the benefits? The benefits. Oh, you get paid time off. Oh, you get health insurance. Oh, you get medical, dental. Those are benefits. Let's get in the mindset of stop construing things in a way that deters from what it says. Benefits, that's what it is. Death benefit, okay? So then we kind of think of, excuse me, we then have 52% of white Americans who own life insurance and they're aligned with the national average, okay? 45% of Hispanic Americans own life insurance and they're below the national average, okay? And Hispanic Americans lag behind, okay? Asian Americans typically fall between Black and Hispanic coverage rates. However, specific data on that is limited. Okay. But the takeaway is that you want to take away is even though Black Americans slightly outperform the overall population, there's a significant gap that remains. Would you not agree? Especially for my Hispanic brothers and sisters. There's a gap there. Okay. And so there's one thing that I don't know if you can see at the bottom, but I placed it there. And if you're interested, I actually want to see if I can, oh no, I don't have it. Oh wait, I think I do. I want to drop something in the chat. So if you're ever interested, it's a really short read. It's probably like not even that, probably like a few seconds to read. If I'm able to get, okay, it won't let me see if I can type it in the chat. Hold on. It is it's just like a quick read, and it's called the Road to Zero Wealth Report. Okay. And let me just put it in the chat. Are y'all still hanging in there with me? Say I do, or, drop something in the chat, a heart, a fire, or whatever you want to do, something. Hello, something in there. I'm going to just write this up. So give me 1 second. Report. It won't let me copy. Sorry, y'all. So I got to type a little bit. Road to zero -wealth / Okay. Let me know if that opens anything up for you. If it doesn't, please somebody just drop in there and say, Gerda, it didn't work. Okay, perfect. So there's that report, Road to Zero Wealth. If you read it, it says by 2053, the median Black wealth is projected to hit 0. The median. And I don't know, as you guys can tell, I'm a very sensitive individual. I have a heart for people, and I don't know why I'm getting emotional. I've never gotten emotional. Like, I don't know what it is about tonight that I'm getting emotional, but that just even saying it, even when I was doing it, it was like, oh, I knew this, but just saying it out loud and just repeating it is just getting me, yeah, Tracy, the median is 0. Give me a second. I'm so sorry. This is so embarrassing because it's recorded.
You don't need to apologize.
Thank you. The meeting is 0.
Your spirit's talking. It's okay.
Thank you so much for the permission. Thank you. By 2073, the Latino wealth is going to be 0. But on the flip side, the white median wealth is expected to grow to 137,000. 137. Okay. So I just wanted to just drop that there so you can really resonate. And then I just share with you, I was like, yeah, I got an MBA. Okay, great. But if you notice here, it says Black and Latino households need advanced degrees to reach middle-class wealth, while white households often reach it with just a high school diploma. Okay? So, yes, you have to, I love that Deep Palmer is within us. We have to tap into it to make it work. Because it's not necessarily, like I said, it's not about the money. It's about how much you keep and grow. Okay? So I just wanted to kind of go there. Whoa, don't even know. I need to get it together. Maybe I need to do like a quick run through, and instead of just jumping in and doing my thing, right? So I get the emotions out. But just a few more statistics, you can kind of see 1 in 3 white families receive a substantial inheritance, like we talked about, right? And what I also want to say is that, and you can see like here, 1 in 3, 1 in 10 families receive it. So just kind of put that in perspective, okay? And inheritance makes up roughly 20% of mean wealth for white households versus 14% for Black households, okay? And then I just kind of put the net worths again for the different households there. Okay. So, like you said, so what's the point? It basically says it there, meaning white families are significantly more likely to build generational wealth, partly because inheritance and life insurance proceeds. Okay. So, I just kind of wanted to just share that with all of you. Another few things that I just want to kind of stay on this for a moment and just share also is that studies show a decline in demand for cash value life insurance among Black Americans. Okay. There's a decline. Why? Because I just shared with you when I started. What was the one thing I said? Dave Ramsey told me buy term, invest the rest. Okay. And all too often, when I have clients come and speak to me, many of them, when they say, I got coverage, but I got what? A term. I got a term. And it's okay, because remember, I had a term, but my reading made me say, wait a minute now. Let me go ahead and convert this. Now, let me stop for a moment, because what I want you to know is this. Even if you have a term, which remember, I had a $1 million term. I don't have a $1 million term anymore. I have a $750,000 term because I converted $250,000 of that term into a whole life. Okay. Why did I keep it at 750? Because remember, I was like, okay, I'm trying to see what this is and what's going on. And to be honest, I got it when I was younger, so it was cheap. Okay. But why am I sharing this? Because if you do have a term, don't be like, I need to get rid of this term. I need to go do it. No, no, no. I always tell people when they come talk to me, it's like, should I get rid of the term? It's like, let's talk about it first, because someone else might say, yeah, get rid of it and come over here and get something. No, no, no. Let's talk about it. How long have you had it? How much are you paying? Right? Do they offer living benefits? Because some terms do. A lot of them do, right? What's the conversion period? What's the purpose of why do you have the term? How much is it? Because why? Because I want us to talk through. It's a collaboration. I want us to talk through what you have before you try to pull the trigger. Now, I had a client today. He has a $75,000 term that he just kind of got, maybe like almost 9-10 years ago. And he pays about $420 annually for it. Right. We were able to kind of sit back and say, okay, let's talk about it. And he's like, it ain't really offering me nothing. And I said, okay, now let's put in perspective. If you keep it for the next 20 years, that's going to be about $8,400 for $75,000. Let's kind of run the numbers and see, what if we add an additional, what does that look like? Or that same $40 you were paying every month, what does that look like if we put it on top of you paying your normal premium you're paying? How much more is it equivalent to the coverage you were getting for the term, and increases it? It made sense. Right? When we did that. So I just want to share that with you. And if a little tip, I like to give tips. If you do have a term, like I said, don't be like, I'm about to drop it. You want to call them. You want to ask them, do I have living benefits? Because like I said, some terms offer that. You want to also put in perspective for yourself, why do I have this term? Is this term so it could keep up with my mortgage? Because I'm going to tell you now, that's why I kept my term. It's not because I'm like, oh, I want to keep paying. No, no, no. I kept it because, one, it's cheap, and two, it's keeping up with my mortgage. Because every policy I have, people who have seen me talk, I always say the same thing. Every policy has a purpose. Oh, wow. King Howard, is that 90 cents annually? Or is that supposed to be 900 annually? And are we talking about a term here? And if you could just put if you're talking about a term or a whole life. Oh, wow. Okay. So, okay. Now we would just need to talk like, what is it? How much is it? What is it covering? Why do you have that amount of coverage? Is it something that's keeping up with an asset? Like I said, mine is keeping up with my mortgage. So as my this is just a tip. Like for me, it's keeping up with my mortgage. So if you ask me right now at 8:09 p.m. Eastern time on June 26th, if my house is paid off, I'm gonna tell you it absolutely is. I owe about 201,000 remaining on it, and the term is keeping up with it. which means, God forbid, if it's time for me to go home, okay? I don't even want to say God forbid. If it's time for me to go with my daddy, I ate. It's been real. But if it's time for me to go home, my house is what? Paid off. Because now my daughter has that. She don't need 750,000 to pay off this house. She just need 200. She got another 500 from the term. If I don't go home before the remaining 21, 22 years that's left, my house is what? Paid off. Because when they gave me my mortgage and they did the amortization table and they told me I got 30 years to pay this house off, guess what? I got 22 years left is going to be paid off. So I don't make any extra payments no more to my mortgage. Because again, back then, I was taught, make these extra payments because you're going to get extra interest knocked off and all of this. And I went by that. Okay. So let me see. Christina, how am I doing? Am I doing on am I still okay with y'all? Because I want to make sure. I don't know how much
Yes.
time I have. I didn't get a time tonight. So I don't know.
You're good. You're good.
I'm good on time. Okay, perfect. So what I did wanted to say is that studies show a decline in the demand for cash value life insurance among African Americans, while white Americans continue to increase usage. What does that mean? If you ain't paying attention and you're probably cooking or cleaning, and that's okay, because I be doing it too. I be listening and I be working, multitasking. But what does that mean? That means while our people, African Americans, are shying away and saying, what is that? Why is it this? Why? They're like, okay, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna get a term, or I'm just gonna get a normal policy that just have cash value, or maybe final expense, right? Just to cover my funeral expenses. Our white brothers and sisters are like, how much more can I get? They're increasing usage. Why? Because they understand that even if I may not be able to fully utilize this during my life, what I do know is that it's going to make sure that my heirs and my legacy don't start from zero. Which is why you can hear a lot of stories about people say, oh, my mom was a maintenance person or my mom was a janitor. But you're like, well, how the heck y'all got all this money? Because they took the right steps, okay? So let's see. I'm just trying to just see if there's anything I'm missing. I do want to share this statistic that 56%, and we're not talking about the 56% of African Americans who have who are above the average who have insurance. 56%, this is another statistic, say that their coverage is too low. Okay, so that lets you know that, hey, that their coverage is too low. Let's see. All right. Okay, I shared that with you guys. All right, perfect. Y'all still with me? Put a thumb, or look, I'm talking about put a thumb in the chat. You know what I mean? Put a 1 in the chat. Yes, I have one term. I have D Palmer. I have one term. I have one whole life, and I have 2 IULs. So I have a total of 4 policies. And also to put in perspective, my daughter has an IUL, and I fund that for her. I pay it. But she went and got a little job for the first time in her life this summer, y'all. But apparently they wasn't giving her no hours, so my girl just went on a job application rampage and went and hired and applied for another job. Now she's working 2 jobs, but she barely get any hours, so it don't even matter, right? But I told her when she actually starts making money and gets a job that's giving her hours, she's going to what? Fund her own policy. She's gonna get not the one I'm funding. I'm gonna make her get another. I'm gonna make her get her own policy where she's the owner. Okay. And then when she gets to a certain age, I'm adding her as a joint owner on the policy that I have for her. Why? Because only the owner can access the cash value. So if God forbid something happens to me, my baby can continue, right? And if she's over a certain age, they'll just reach out to her and see if she wants to own the policy, right? But she could continue and go forward. Now she's going to be what? Under 21 and have 2 policies. She wants to be a doctor. When she becomes a doctor, guess what? What income she's making as a doctor can't fit in these policies. So what's going to happen? She got to get another one. That's how she's going to end up with 3. Okay. So I'm just putting that into perspective for you so you know, which is why I get excited when I talk to people with children, because the play, I'll tell y'all about the play with my daughter a little later. But I just wanted to share that with all of you. Okay, perfect. Let me see. Did y'all drop some ones in the chat? Did y'all still with me? I don't know. I don't know if these was old ones or new ones. But if you with me, come off mute, say I'm with you. If you're not, okay, I'm almost done. Don't worry, I'm gonna be out of your hair soon.
We're with you.
We with you. We with you. We here.
Thank
Still
you.
here.
Rolling with
Okay,
them.
perfect. So let's talk about the broken money system. Okay. And as you can see on the left side, this is typically how it is right now. Okay. The right side is where we want to try to help you get. Okay. So if you look at this and you say, what I like to do is I like to give and like I said, I think I shared this with y'all. I give a lot of analogies and they be crazy, but I promise they make sense. So if you think about it like a lemonade stand, right? And I used to sell lemonade, by the way, when I was younger, and some cookies when they used to let us do that, and we had to get no permit while we in the neighborhood because you know they be trying the little kids these days. But think about you have a lemonade stand, or you have your children, right? And they have a lemonade stand. Okay. Now they go out and they sell something for $1. But what happens is, and why am I using kids? Because I'm not really a fan of bullies, adult bullies or kid bullies. Okay. So you have your kids, they selling their lemonade. They sold something for $1. They got their first sale. Thank you, Lord. They sat in the hot sun for a few hours waiting for somebody in the neighborhood to pass by and get a lemonade and a cookie. Total, ma'am, total, sir, is $1. But then you got two of the bullies from around the corner walking. They walk up to your kid's lemonade stand. And they don't even gotta to hit them or anything. They just say, one of them say, give me 40 cents. Your kid has no choice. They just give it to. They can't be like, Mom, Dad, what you gonna do? You can't do nothing. Okay. They say, give me 40 cents. Well, some of us can do something, now, but they tell them to give me 40 cents. The other kid says, and give me 34 cents. So now your kid just sat in the sun, or even you, if you had a little hustle when you was a kid, you probably did what I also used to do. Now that I think about it, I really didn't realize I was a hustler growing up, but I think I was like a smart, like calm, quiet hustler. I didn't realize getting the candy and then going to the school and selling the candy. Anybody else used to sell candy? Wow, go to the store, buy that and sell candy. Okay, maybe it was just me. I was just the only candy person, candy lady at the school. But you have the $1. Now your kid only has what, 26 cents left. They just made $1. They sat there for a few hours and they made $1. Oh, you had a candy house, Raphael? You was the candy, were you the candy? Well, we used to call it the candy lady, the candy man. Yep. We used to have
My
the candy
grandmother.
lady. Brian know about the candy man. And they used to sell if you're from Florida, we used to call them flips. The little popsicles, you put the Kool-Aid in the cup and then you got to squeeze. Okay. So you have 26 cents left. But out of that 26 cents, your kid now says, Mom, Dad, I want to put some savings. Like I want to put some in the savings. But I also have to pay for this for school and I have to pay for that for school, right? Well, they got to put 23 cents that they got to pay for their stuff for school. Or they got to pay, clothes or whatever the case may be. Or maybe they did their little lemonade stand to help around the house because they're like, I want to help my mom or my dad pay bills and stuff like that. They gave you the 23 cents and they only had 3 cents left. Okay. So why is that important? You might be like, okay, Gerda, we ain't making dollars. Oh, you're making dollars. And every dollar you make, you got 26 cents left because 40% is going to taxes and 34% is going to interest, bully 1 and bully 2. Okay. And if taxes said, oh, we going up, what you going to do? What are you going to do? If you go get a loan from the bank and it goes up, what are you going to do? You're going to pay it. And even with that, you don't even have to think about loans. Think about it. You go buy clothes. What do they charge you? Unless you live in like New York. My cousins live in New York. And remind me, correct me if you're from New York, drop in the chat if they charge sales tax. I remember they don't, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I ain't been there in a long time. But unless you live somewhere where they don't charge sales tax, okay. But typically you have sales tax, property tax, right? You got credit card interest, student loan interest, personal loan interest, interest on your mortgage. You see how the two are best friends? They walk in lockstep. Okay. So the average person, like I said, is going to earn that money, but that's how the person ends up with Remember that how I said you're gonna the average person's gonna make about $2 million by the time they hit 65, but they're only gonna see about $60,000 in assets, like total, including equity in their home. That's how, because it's just 3 cents. What you really thought you made ain't what you made. Okay, you made 3 cents. That's how you only have the 60,000 out of 2 million. Okay. So I hope that kind of like drove it home. And so when you look on the right side, you see we didn't take away taxes. We didn't take away interest. No one can take away taxes. No one can take away interest. Now, if you find somebody who do, hey, let me know. I ain't gonna lie. One thing about it, I mean, regardless of how you feel about the president, I'm not gonna lie. When he said that he's gonna get rid of income tax, I sat there and was like, well, I can't wait to see that. I'm ready for it. Why? Because it is true. Income tax was created in 1913, and it was only created to help after the Civil War, to help the economy get back on track. It was supposed to be a temporary thing. But what do we know about the government? They got a little greedy and they liked the way they was making money. And taxes have been as high as 95%. So this little bitty taxes we got now that everybody's like, taxes is high. Taxes have been high as 95%. The average tax rate right now, I think, is 56.7% when you calculate from 1913 up until now, 56.7. 56.7. And at one point, they were charging 80% taxes on anyone who made over $2 million. And the very next year, they charged 88% on anyone who was making over $200,000. How you go from 80% on 2 million to 88% on 200,000? I'm confused. You raised the taxes but lowered the level, the cap. Like, I'm confused. And when did that happen? That happened around the time of what? War. I just want to throw that out there. I ain't saying nothing without saying nothing. And then, like I said, J.C. Penney, around the Great Depression, he done went through wars and all of that, right? He done went through wars and depression and all of that. And he had money in his thing to go into to keep operations going. I'm just open the parachute. No one's saying throw everything in one sack. What they're saying is, if you have different sacks, at least if these other sacks are lost or taken or burned or shrink, you have this little sack over here that has something, so you ain't got to start from zero. You following me? So the goal is to kind of readjust to say, yeah, I was paying 40 in taxes, but now what if I'm paying 30 in taxes? You just saved 10%, but you didn't save it, you reallocated it. I was giving them 34 in interest, but now I'm only doing 12 in interest. Now you done save 10 on taxes, and now you done save 12 on interest. But then you look what happened. Your lifestyle went from 23. So what you saved from the taxes went to your lifestyle. What you saved from the interest went towards your savings. Okay. So I just want to kind of put those into perspective, right? All right. And the other thing too, I would just kind of want to throw out real quick is that the government and the banks are best friends. Okay. My mentor says this, and it's true. The government and the banks are best friends. Why? Because I'm just going to pick up a random person. Let's say I took Raul, and Raul comes to me, and I go to Raul and I ask Raul to borrow some money, $10,000. Raul says, okay, cool, Gerda. And then I say, Raul, okay, give me this 10,000, but I'm going to give you 0.5%, Raul. I'm feeling a little generous. I'm gonna give you 0.5% on this 10,000. He's like, oh, okay, Gerda, no problem. Sure, because this 0.5 I was making that I wasn't making before, no problem. But then when Raul gives me that 10K, I then do what? I go and I sit here and say, Verna, Marley, Eric, Reginald, everybody, Alexander, Howard, y'all came to me. Y'all wanted to borrow some money last week. No problem. Reginald, I'm going to give you 2K. I'm going to charge you 24% on that. Eric, I'm going to give you the 1,000 you asked me for. I'm going to give you 16% because I'm looking at your credit reports, right? I'm going to give you 16%. Verna, you know what? You've been really kind to me and been doing business with me for a long time, and your credit looks great. I'm going to give you 6% on this 1,500 you want to borrow. Now I gave this 10,000 that Raul just gave to me that I'm giving Raul 5.5% on. And if I'm feeling real generous and I say I'm high yield, I'll give him 1, 2, 3, right? But then I'm giving everybody else his money and I'm charging 24, 16, 4, 10, 22. That's fraud. Wouldn't I get in trouble? I would. But the banks don't. I'm just putting in perspective. Now we get into becoming your own bank, because becoming your own bank and banking on yourself is not just about getting access to these things. It's about opening your mind and understanding how you need to start thinking like the bank. When I talk to my clients, I tell them, listen, everybody on social media makes it seem like, oh, put money in here, make it seem like it's a microwave. But nobody is teaching strategy. Nobody's teaching you about the nuts and the bolts, the little tripwires that you have to know and to better understand. Why do you need to understand the tripwires? Because you have to understand how to start thinking like the bank. And also, I tell people, when you sit here and you say, I want to bank on myself, I want to get these policies, start putting money in, and I'm thinking of these plans and a master plan. Well, the other thing you need to think about is you need to respect your family bank. You need to respect your private reserve more than you respect Bank of America, more than you respect Navy Federal, more than you respect Wells Fargo. What do I mean by that? Because if you went and borrowed some money, okay, and let's say, I don't know, pick somebody. Sonia. Hey, Sonia. I ain't seen you, girl. Okay. If you would if you went and borrowed some money, right? And from Bank of America, and you took out 15,000. You got a loan now. And I come to you and say, Sonia, can I borrow 1,000? I'm gonna pay you back. I just gotta do this and do that. What you gonna tell me? Gerda, I got bills to pay, I got this to pay, I got that to pay, and plus I gotta pay my loan. It's already 1,000. I gotta do this and do that, right? Okay. So if Sonia's so committed to paying Bank of America back their money because she got that loan and she said, I need to pay them on time. Why you don't respect your family bank enough that when you're taking money out, you don't think in your mind, what's my strategy? Because they're not going to tell you. It's not like Bank of America where you take a loan and they say, oh, you got 30 days and you got to start paying us back on this date. And when you pay that $100, $80 is going to interest, 20 is going to principal. That's not how this works. Okay. It's simple interest. But then you have to start thinking of what's your plan? What's your plan to pay back your family bank? Whether you say, I'm going to pay it back in 2 years, I'm going to pay it back in 6 months, but this is my play. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to break it up and pay it back. Why? Because you're paying back your who? Your family bank. Okay. So sorry, guys. I sometimes get a little, I'm very passionate about this and very passionate about the mindset shift that we got to understand that no one is coming to save your family but you. No one is coming to save your legacy but you, and you have to understand that the seeds that you are planting today, you may not see them flourish. You may not see them blossom, but what will happen and what will resonate is your name through your legacy. How did y'all end up like that? Well, such and such did this. Such and such set that up. My great-grandmother, my grandmother, my parents did this for me. Okay. No, Jakor, you don't have to have a trust to have a family bank. However, you could kind of think of like the trust and I call them cash value policies because it's not just IUL, right? But you can kind of think of it like a husband and wife, right? Now you could be single, okay, and still gonna survive. Look at me, I'm living strong, okay? You could be single and still survive, right? And you're still protected. You still got your stuff going on. Things are going great for you, right? I'm talking about myself. You can tell things are going great for you. Things are happening, right? You're living it up, right? But imagine if you now become one with someone else, what can happen? So that's how you kind of want to think about it, about the IUL and the trust, or the whole life and the trust. And forget IUL and trust. Let's just talk about cash value policies, okay? Cash value policies and trust, they're like husband and wife. They're fine separated, okay? And then that, if the IUL, I know this is crazy, but if the IUL or if the cash value policy was like, you know, the wife or something like that, and the trust was like the husband, and they were separated, and the trust didn't have that, and they were kind of just separated. Well, when the wife gone, the money gonna go to the trust anyway, so she's gonna have to go back home anyways. I know that was crazy, but you get what I'm saying. So you don't have to have it, but it makes it stronger. Okay. So just want to share that because y'all, I got light bulbs I got to replace in this house that I'm like, it's 4 light bulbs. I was just telling my friend this morning. It's 4. Thank you, D, because I told you it's not working, but it makes sense. But I got these 4 light bulbs out of 6 in my bathroom that are blown. And it's been like that for a few weeks, and I need to find time to go do it. But then the light bulbs in front of the door, the 2 light bulbs in front of the house, those went out last night. My neighbor hit my mailbox, so I done had the new mailbox sitting on the floor for about 4 months because my power drill that I got, the battery is dead, and if I drill in one screw, it goes dead, and I got to go back and charge it again to do each time. So I need a new battery. The backlight is out. I need a light bulb. Why am I sharing all this? Because if I had a husband, excuse me, I don't even need to ask him to even do it, right? He's just gonna see that, oh, the light is out. Let me go to Home Depot and get some light bulbs. Let me put the new mailbox up, right? All this kind of stuff. So I'm just sharing with you. That's what a trust is. So I'm the IUL and I need the trust, right? So, and I'm very handy, actually. I'm very, very handy. Christina will tell you, others will tell you, I'm always building stuff and fixing stuff, but I need a break. So, all right, perfect. Y'all still with me? We're almost to the live visual, almost there, and we're almost gonna wrap up. Y'all still hanging in there? Yeah, it's called homework or teamwork. Yes, yes. I thought it said homework, D. I was gonna say, yeah, I know it's homework, but I ain't trying to do that homework, okay? Um, so when we talk about the power of infinite banking, and becoming your own bank, remember, it's a mindset shift. It's not just about what I want people that interact with me to understand is it's not about getting the product. It's about the mind, right? Because now think about when we say become your own bank, I now want you all to take a moment right now and I want you to disconnect becoming your own bank from the actual product. And I want you to tie it into when someone says I'm becoming my own bank, it's as if I now own Navy Federal. I now own Wells Fargo. So now I need to strategize how I'm going to make money off the same dollar twice. How I'm going to fill my cup back up, right? And again, I'm going to show you that. Let me see. Did somebody just ask a question? No, oh, is that a new question? That might be an old one. No, Jakor, you don't have to have a trust to have the cash value policy. Thank you so much, Mandy. I appreciate that. You know, I need a little encouragement as I go through. As you guys can tell, I'm very animated. My clients know that. That's just me naturally. So thank you so much. Mandy, I love what you said. The banks don't even loan the money technically because guess what? You go to the bank and you say, I need to borrow 10,000. You've been banking with them for what, 15 years? And they might say, oh, nope, Brian, nope, Reginald. Yeah, we know you've been with us for 15 years, but we pulled your credit. It ain't what it need to be. And so we're gonna deny you. But what? But Reginald got like 20, 30,000 in there, right? That they're just using and they made hundreds of thousands off his money. But they told him no. How dare you? That's like you asking me, you gave me you let me borrow your car and you asked me to pick you up to take you to work. And I said, do you got gas money? What? But it's your car. You just let me borrow, but I'm asking you for gas money. Okay. You ain't got gas money? I'm not giving you a ride. But the power of infinite banking, becoming your own bank. You have access to capital without penalty, taxes, or credit checks. Why is that important? And I'll give you an example. Thank you so much, D. I love it. Thank you guys. You know, it gives me encouragement. And I was like this in corporate too, y'all. So don't think I'm like thinking I'm on my own now. I'm just being all rogue and animated. I was like this in corporate. Okay. Everybody knows that I'm just animated. But what I want to kind of go back to that example is I want to give you guys an example. So it also grows compounded wealth, uninterrupted and debt free, right? And it's a strategy, not a product. You see what I'm saying? Becoming your own bank is a strategy, not a product. And using it properly, structure life insurance to create a private banking system. Okay. And so I just want to stop real quick because someone just wrote something. Jay said, should you set up your trust first or after the policy or does it matter? you want to do it in lockstep or you want to do the policy first. Why do I say that? So let's just say you're like, man, I want to really get in Wealthy Trustee. I want to be in Christina's program. She's always dropping gems. I need to get these trusts set up. I get an inheritance that's coming up. I need to get it done, right? You're probably thinking about all of that. But you're like, okay, but my money, I'm about to get a promotion next week. I just gotta figure that out because I know it's an investment. It's an investment into your legacy, okay? But you're like, oh, but I also need a policy. Well, I always tell my clients, listen, you want to get if you have to choose, if you don't have to choose, you get them in lockstep. What do I mean by that? You get in your policy at the same time you're working on your trust. If you have to choose, because again, I share with y'all using a gift card to pay my light bill. I know what it's like. If you have to choose and one has to take a moment on the back burner, I always tell people go with the policy first. Why? Because if you are working on that trust right now, and you're like, I got to get it done. I'm gonna get the policy. I got the money to fund it every month, but I'm just gonna I'm gonna do the trust first and then do the policy. Well, God forbid if something happens to you, your legacy is left with paper. Unless you have other policies, they're cool. But if you don't, they left with paper. That's it, paper. But if you have the policy in place, while you're waiting to get into Wealthy Trustee, to get these trusts in place, to get that husband, because remember, IUL is the wife, husband is the trust, okay? While you're waiting to get that, you need to be starting what? Your policy, because God forbid, in the same example, if something happens, okay, and while you're working on that paper, or before you even got to even getting started on the paper, at least what you expected to happen, the benefit, remember the benefit goes to your heirs and your legacy, and they don't start from what? Zero. And that also leads me to say this, as you're getting this knowledge, some of y'all might be excited. Some of y'all might be like, I knew this before. Some of y'all might be like, I'm lost. I don't know. But as you're getting this knowledge, I hope you're not lost. Normally when people, if they kind of lost in the beginning, y'all be getting it and y'all be like, got it. It all came together like a pie, right? But if you're getting this knowledge, you are responsible to share this knowledge with your legacy. What do I mean by that? Meaning when you get your policy and you all pumped up, yeah, I got this policy. Okay, cool. You may be thinking, okay, I shared this with my friends and they wasn't really trying to move. Yeah, okay, that's fine. But if you have kids that are old enough to understand, you better sit them down and talk to them in the way that you understood of what I went through with you to explain. Okay. If you are an active client, why do I emphasize that? Because it does take me time to sit with people, and everybody want to sit with just me, and I have a team, right? So, but if you are an active client and you have your kids and you're like, okay, I got my 15-year-old, my 16-year-old, I'm about to get into this policy. I don't really know if I could explain it to them this way. And I need them to know what they are about to have in their hands. So if I'm not here no more, they know what to do. First of all, they're going to know they have access to me to call me, right? But if you need me to sit down with them and say, okay, let's put 30 minutes on. Let me teach you something, what your father just did for you, what your mother just did for you, what your grandparents just did for you. Aunt, uncle, what just happened for you? And I need them to understand, because I sat my daughter down. I ain't gonna lie, when she first was getting her, knew she was gonna get a job, she was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get this money and I want to work. I'm gonna get these. That's why she only got 2 jobs, y'all. But she ain't really getting no hours, so it don't matter. But she's like, I'm gonna get this money. Excuse me. And I was like, uh, ma'am, why you think you about to have all this money, racks on racks? I said, first of all, when you get paid 70%, so you can kind of say I'm the bully that came around the corner from the lemonade stand. I said 70% is being taken immediately, and you're only gonna get 30%. She's like, what? That's nothing. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. It's going to get 30% because 70%, I'm putting it up. Why? Because she's 17, but I'm not going to let her do what I did when I was 16 and start working at Universal Studios and did not know about these type of policies. Because baby, if I did, when I was getting those refund checks from college and working at Universal Studios and any other job I had along the way, I'm not paying no bills. I'm not paying no phone bill. None of that. All of that would have been put up. So that's why I share that with you. So if you're sitting here like, dang, I wish I knew what I know now. You need to understand that sometimes we get information and it's not necessarily for us, but it's for the ones that come after us. So give yourself grace on what you didn't know before. And now you have to understand and establish what you're going to do going forward. Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay, perfect. So, like we said, life insurance is for the living. I didn't really emphasize this, but what I like to say is life insurance. It's called life insurance. Let's stop making stuff so confusing. It's called life insurance, not death insurance. Life for your life. The death benefit is exactly that, a benefit. A benefit. Okay, that's exactly what it is. Okay, so, but while you're alive, okay, you got to know what you can use it for. Okay, so when we talk about that, it then becomes how then, that's why I tell my clients, I say all the time, you got to sit and start thinking, like, how then can I use this to do a certain thing, to make this happen? And then this is my play. And what do I mean by that? And I'll kind of give you guys the play, and then we're going to jump into the live visual. So, I want you to kind of see this, because the other part of it too is that so many people are focused on the cash value portion, right? And what you got to do. And I'm going to be very honest, y'all, maybe because I've been in insurance and I come from a corporate mindset, and that's all I've known since I've got out of college was insurance, okay? And I moved up the corporate ladder, and and like I shared with you before, I used to be insulted when people used to do you sell insurance? I'm working in insurance. I used to be insulted because even in insurance, these agents had bad raps because they were not taking the time to learn their products. And I don't know if you saw on the About Us page, but I have spoken on panels before where I actually had to go and speak at a forum with agents to emphasize the importance of this is what happens when y'all don't understand the product. Because then when it comes to us and we have to deny something, and the person say, I want to talk to your manager, and they bump it up to the manager, and they say, I don't agree. The manager said yes, denied or whatever. I don't agree. Then they bump it. I want to talk to the next person, and they bump it up to me. We have to sit in that room, and I have to look, and I have to go through the policy with them. So that's a different thing that I come with from your normal agent. I come with policy interpretation and coverage analysis. What does that mean? That means I don't just come from the front of the store where I'm just selling you something. And again, I'm not selling you, I'm serving you something. I understand what the ingredients are in the meal. Okay. So y'all know I got them little crazy analogies. That's all I'm saying to y'all. If we at a restaurant, the waiters and the waitresses are in the front and the chef is in the back. Some of them restaurants, the chef did create the whole menu and curate the whole menu. Great. But some of them, the chef just knows how to cook the menu items, right? Think of me like a chef. The waiters in the front, they come in, you go into the restaurant, you sit down, you say, okay, I would like to order something. And they say, sometimes you go and they be like, you ask them, oh, excuse me, does this come with this on it? And sometimes you have the ones that know what comes on it. You have the ones who have to lean at the menu, like they reading with you. They reading the menu with you, say, it come with, and then they touching the menu. Ever had it comes with this, this, and this. I'm like, I see that. I know I'm just asking if it comes with something else. And then you have those who be like, they don't know, but they're going to ask who? The chef. So if I'm in the back of the house in the kitchen as a chef, and a lot of orders are coming in wrong, think of me like saying, okay, I ain't working in the kitchen no more. I'm just gonna come in the front and I'm gonna be a waiter and a waitress. Why? Because they also weren't anticipating people's needs. Because why am I saying this? It's all gonna make sense. Because like I said, everybody on social media nowadays, it seems like everybody everywhere, they're making it seem like this is something hot and new. It's not. IULs are a newer concept, right? That came out around like the 90s, right? The 80s, 90s, right? But insurance has been around. Do y'all know insurance started in 1700s? Do people know that? Insurance has started in 1700s. A lot of the wealthy families you see now, the richest families you see now are as a result of insurance. Okay, it was started to protect the Protestant priests in the 1700s, okay? One of the companies that I'm appointed with has been around for, well, not even one of them. All the companies that I'm appointed with have been around for 135 plus years. My top one that I use has been around since 1886. A+ rated. Okay. So again, going back to the restaurant, I come to the front and now I'm anticipating needs because everybody on social media who's pumping all this stuff, making it seem like it's a microwave, but not telling y'all it's a slow cooker. But what do we know about a slow cooker? It take a little bit to cook. But when it starts cooking, okay, it starts to do what? You got to keep an eye on it. Put something in the slow cooker and say, oh yeah, it's going to be there all day. And then you leave it too long and it starts to cook. Watch and see if something won't burn in a slow cooker. It will, but your money won't burn in here. But it starts cooking, okay? And I say all that to say that everybody's talking about the money part, but nobody's talking about the living benefits, okay? And so me coming from the back of the house to the front is basically saying, Marley, you have Marley might say, can I get the chicken marsala? Because Marley got a shellfish allergy. Okay. And if you're my client, you've heard this example before. Marley got a shellfish allergy. So Marley says, I want the chicken marsala. And Marley think they're good. Okay. And Marley's like, okay, I'm good. So because the other person didn't anticipate the need, they go put in the order. But little do they know, they didn't ask Marley, do you have a shellfish allergy, and anticipate Marley's needs? Why? And you might be thinking, well, why they gonna ask that? Because Marley ordered the chicken marsala. Well, the chicken marsala is the one dish that's cooked on the same grill as the seafood. Okay. I used to work at like a little restaurant when I was younger. I don't even remember the name. I had so many little jobs when I was back then. But do you see what's happening? Anticipate it. So now you got to anticipate people's needs. You're focused on the cash value, but one thing's for certain, two things for sure. There are several things that's going to happen. There are two things that are inevitable. One, we are going to get older. That is inevitable. I don't care how many injections, surgeries people want to do to look younger, whatever. You're going to get older, period. Okay? And you're going to get to a place where you can no longer do the same things you're doing today. Okay. Now, if you was my grandma, my dad's mom, she lived to 113 and she was still walking. Because I remember she chased me down the hallway. I told the client the other day with her sandal to whoop me because I was being disrespectful when I was younger. I'm just being honest. Okay. 113. And my great grandmother died at 133. My grandmother, who died at 113, was still walking. She was a little slouched over, but she was walking. She wasn't confined to a chair. My great grandmother, 133, Haiti. Why? Because they living off the land. You know, they eating that good stuff. They're living off the land. She lived for a long time. So that's why when I meet with people and I'm going through these numbers and they're like, Gerda, I ain't gonna live to 100. Okay. You don't know that, right? But you're going to get to a point, one, where you can't do the same things you're doing today. You're not going to be able to walk the same, run the same, talk the same, move the same. And you need to have some living benefits in place. Number two, you're not going to be here anymore. We already talked about what happens when you're not here no more, right? Let's talk about when you're here. Well, when you're here, you have to understand when you can't do the normal things of living anymore, there's too many people, and I'm just going a little left right now because this is what frustrates me also. When people are so focused on get this, get that, cash value, grow, 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 and no one's really educating people on what else comes with that, right? You have too many people who think that, yes, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa got a policy. Let's say they knew it was building cash value. And they're like, okay, it's been a good amount of cash value, right? But, or let's say they didn't know. Let's back up. They got a policy and the family thought that mom and dad did a great thing because they got a policy. And what does everybody pretty much wait for? They're like, okay, they got a policy and when they're gone, this is when this is going to be paid out. But a lot of people don't know about the benefits that come with it, the living benefits, because you have a lot of elderly parents or grandparents and you don't even got to be elderly. You could be in your 50s and God forbid a total disability happen. Your 40s, a total disability happen. You don't know. We don't know. Okay. Every day is a gift. Every day is a gift and everything that we can do. So if you can hear my voice right now, that's a gift. If you could see me, that's a gift. If you can use your fingers to turn the camera on, turn it off, do what it is that you need to do, that is a gift. If you can smell right now, breathe right now, it's a gift. You could get up and walk to the kitchen and walk back and say, I'm going to go get this real quick and come back. That's a gift. Okay. So now when things like this happen, you have too many people with these policies and everybody was pushing something else, just getting insurance, getting insurance. And you have what I call policy pushers. That's the name I made up. So if you hear anybody on social media who's watching this YouTube and they start saying policy pushers, they got it from me. Okay. All right. So policy pushers, and you have these families who possibly have grandma and granddad, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, or even you yourself have these policies. And God forbid, you can't do 2 out of 6 things of daily living. You can't feed yourself, clothe yourself, bathe yourself, wipe yourself, dress yourself. You can't do that. Can't even go to the bathroom right anymore, or you're going on yourself. 2 out of the 6 things. And they're struggling to take care of you. Or God forbid, someone got bad news about such and such, and the family only got 24 months to live. 24 months. And now they're squandering, trying to figure out how they're going to pay for this treatment, this treatment, this treatment. And little do they know, everybody's sitting around waiting. Not that they're anticipating. Let's not say that. They're just waiting because they're like, yeah, they got a policy, but that policy don't pay out till they're gone. But little do they know, there are policies out there that people are sitting on thinking that it's going to pay when they're gone, when they don't even know they can tap into the death benefit while they're alive, living benefits, life insurance. You understand what I'm saying here? And it's coming from the death benefit. What do I mean? I'm gonna give you a quick example. A person, and don't now, when I give you this example, don't be trying to run and go get no $1 million policy, okay? Because I talk about that with my clients too. Why do you need that? Let's talk about it. And if you want $1 million policy, you're gonna have to pay for $1 million policy. Let's just talk about it. But a person, let's just say they started out. Why do I say started? This is something that people learn when they are my clients and I take them on, is this person may have started out at 150,000 death benefit started. By the time they're 85, let's say a 30-year-old got a $150,000 policy. By the time they're 85, for example, their death benefit is now $1 million. Okay, y'all following me so far? God forbid this person now finds out, dang, the doctor told me I got a terminal illness. I got 24 months to live. Well, now what happens is this person is able to go to the insurance company or that person's family is able to say, hey, this is what's going on. And the insurance company will then say, okay, you have a terminal illness. And hold on, it's not every insurance company because there's almost 800 plus insurance companies out there. And not everyone is the same, just like not every car is the same, okay? You could have a car and I could have a car, but yours might be way better than mine, okay? Now, this company is going to say, okay, you have this terminal illness, okay, everything checks out. Well, you have $1 million death benefit, okay? And I'm not talking about the cash value. You have $1 million death benefit. We are willing to give you, for example, an advance of the death benefit up to 90%. This person's alive. They just found out a terminal illness, 24 months to live. They probably got treatments they got to go to. They probably got something else, right? Insurance is going to give them 900,000 of that. In this example, 900,000 of that million. And then when that person's not here anymore, the remaining 100,000 goes to their heirs. But let's say the person's like, yeah, I know I can get up to 900,000, but I don't want 900,000. I just need 300,000 to pay for my treatments and make sure I have a good life, blah, blah, blah. Well, the remainder, that 700,000 is going to what? Go to their heirs when they're not here anymore. Okay. But we know we serve a great God. Okay. And he's a healer. So if somebody gets something about terminal illness, 24 months, okay, and you go with your 900,000, 90%, and the Lord healed you a year later, well, praise God. What you going to do with it? I hope you didn't squander the 900,000 while you was there. I hope when you took it, you made stuff happen. But if you look here, 56% of bankruptcies are tied to medical bills. 70% of people 65 plus will need long-term care. 1 in 2 Americans. So again, how many of y'all is on the call? 81. Let's go say 80 so we can split it even. 40. Well, we're not going to use this call. People who know me know that I don't like using the people I'm talking to. So we're going to say another meeting had 80 people in there. And in that meeting, not this meeting, because this meeting is covered, but another meeting had 80 people in there. And 40 out of those 80, half, are going to face a chronic illness before retirement. And retirement, typically, people say is 65. But why did I do quotations? Because I told a client today, retirement is not an age, it's a dollar amount. If you never heard that, let it sink in, okay? And living benefits pay out for chronic, critical, or terminal illness. And that's why this is life insurance for the living, not just for the lost, okay? Oh, you're so welcome. You're welcome, Jay. I appreciate that. I'm so happy. I get happy when people understand or people appreciate me taking my time to explain, because I'm not like your average person. Why do I say social media? Because I'm be very honest with y'all. When I see a lot of people on social media, and it could be because of my level of expertise on the back end of being in the kitchen. And a lot of people who are on social media today are in the front of the house, the waiters and the waitresses. When I see the fast talking and I see all of that, it frustrates me, because it's like you're not educating them to tell them about this or that or this or that, so they know how to strategize appropriately when they have it in their hands. Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to, and then we're almost done after this. I have just one more slide after this, but I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Let me figure out how to do that. Are you guys still with me? Drop a little, and then I'm actually going to turn my camera off for a moment, if that's okay with you guys, and give me about like 30 seconds to a minute, primarily because where I'm sitting, the daytime sunlight that I started with has gone. So I'm kind of in the dark, y'all. So give me like a moment and I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the live visual. Is that okay with y'all? Am I good?
Yeah.
Okay, because I got to get permission. I got to get permission. I don't just jump ship. Okay, give me one moment.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness. What happened?
Are y'all enjoying the masterclass so far, you guys?
Of course, Chris,
Definitely.
you know it.
Ma'am.
You.
Hey, I'm so glad to hear that. Look,
We love all your classes.
okay, well, that's what's up.
Yeah, all of 'em. One of the best though, honestly. I've seen them
Yeah,
all.
thank you so much, Mandy. You see, I aim to bring like qualified educators to this platform so that you guys can get the best information and knowledge so that you can implement, right? So it's not that you just gonna take it all in. You got to apply what they teaching you. That's the most important part. So, but I'm glad that y'all enjoying it so far. Like Gerda, she's a wealth of knowledge, and that's why I appreciate her every single time that she comes onto this platform. It says I
Your
can
vetting process is serious.
It sure is, yeah. Listen, and if any of these educators like slip up and do my community wrong, I cut them off. Cut it, cut it, cut it.
Yeah, you
As
got
you should. As you should.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So, but
You're
yeah,
only as strong as your weakest link.
Most
exactly.
definitely.
Yes. And I appreciate you guys staying on for the whole entire masterclass. Like this is important. And all of the replays are available on the YouTube channel. Are you guys all subscribed?
You know
Yeah,
that.
Yes.
I had text you that. I was like, I hope it is on the YouTube.
Yeah, it is. It's on the YouTube. It sure is.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm back. And thank you all for your having some grace and letting me step away to get some lighting. So I hope it's okay. Y'all still hanging in there?
Of course.
Thank
Capital
I
letters.
know this.
That's
Yes.
one thing about the community. They gonna hang in to the very end. Like
Thank
Yep.
they stay for the whole hour or two, however long it lasts. So I love it.
I love it. Thank you so much. Awesome. And Mandy, you charming, Mandy. I heard when I heard Mandy say one of the best, I was like in my own head out loud. I was like, oh, Mandy charming. So thank you.
It
But I
sure
do speak
is.
the truth though. It's the truth. I don't hype anybody up like unless I see specialness and I do. So it's the truth.
Thank you so much. And then it's funny because you just said hype, you don't hype anybody up. There's a song, I don't know if y'all heard it, but it's like hype me up. Hype me up. No, is it just me? Okay, maybe because my daughter be playing TikTok and it's
Nah,
got,
I know what it is.
you know what I'm
I know
saying?
what
You
it
be like
is.
hype me
Yeah,
up.
I heard it.
Just you.
Okay, thank you so much. Perfect. So can y'all see my screen? No?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes? Okay,
Yes,
good.
we can see it.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to kind of quickly go through this because it's something else that I really want to show to kind of help make the concept go through, okay? And some of you, like I said, have seen this before, but the other one, I've kind of only shown it like if I'm in the private appointment with my client and I need to explain something further. So this right here is basically just showing you the basic function or how money moves, okay? Very simple. Everybody tries to make it so complex and do all this stuff. Look, it's very simple. You got 3 tanks, right? And essentially, this is how it should be moving. Let me back up. You got these 3 tanks. You got the lifetime capital potential, which reflects how much money you're going to make in your lifetime, right? Remember how we talked about the average person's going to make about 2 million in their lifetime, right? But they only gonna see 60,000. That's why that tank's so big, because it's lifetime capital potential. Okay, how much you can potentially make. That's why it's the biggest. Then you have the risk tank. And the risk tank, it reflects like your different investments, like your 401k, your IRAs, your IRAs, your SEPs, your TSPs, all of that, right? And then you have, and what I also want to highlight too is if you notice right here, this tank, okay, now I think I warned y'all, I got beautiful handwriting. I still don't have a stylist, but you will be proud of me, those who have seen this before or seen me write with the scribble with the mouse. I did call Apple and find out how I can do this, and they said I got to do the whole setup with the iPad and the stylus and the connected to the. That's not my area of expertise, so we're gonna get ugly handwriting until I have time to do that. But I'm gonna make sure I get it right for you guys next time, okay?
The style is different.
It's different. And you guys are going to see, once I get it all, the whole setup right, you guys are going to see how beautiful my handwriting is. So I want anybody who's saying she lying, that handwriting is ugly. I want y'all to put some respect on my name like Birdman and when I show you my handwriting. Okay. But this wrist tank right here, you notice right here, it doesn't have a lid on it. Okay. But this one does. Well, the reason why is because I like to call this wrist tank the evaporation tank. Okay. Why? Because anything that goes in there can easily evaporate. Now you have the savings tank, which we like to call the safe tank. It has a lid on there. Typically what you put in the safe tank tends to be safe. But generally how money should be flowing is that in your lifetime, you're going to make a lot of money, right? And when you make this money, remember I told you it's not going to fill up to the top. Why? Because money is always moving. Okay. And give me 1 second. I don't know. One moment. Okay. Okay, perfect. In your lifetime, money is always moving, right? So, let me see. All right. So it's coming in and as you can see, it's not filling up the tank, okay? Because typically people budget on a monthly basis. Some people do weekly, some do bi-weekly, right? But typically it's a monthly. It comes in and it's going to go where? Through the inflow tank. Now, when it goes to the inflow tank, it has to make a pit stop. Who knows who your business partner is? Because it has to stop to see a business partner. Who's your business partner? Because if you don't know, you need to know, because everybody got a business partner. Everybody. Well, if you don't know, it's the government, okay? You got to stop to see your business partner, which is the government, okay? They're going to take their cut. Remember I told you that the lemonade stand? The governor. Thank you, Mandy, the governor. They're going to take their money. And that's it. There's nothing you could do about it. That's why there's no tank under here. Yes, Sonia, because they're the government, Uncle Sam. There's no bucket under here because once it goes out, it's out. Okay, now if you overpay them and you get a tax refund, but it really ain't a tax refund because they jacked you and took your money anyways. And the rest of it that's left over goes through what? This after-tax cash flow tube. What is the after-tax cash flow? Whatever's left in your hands, it does what? It takes care of your mortgage, your rent, your food. If you have kids, education, car note, gas, cell phones, clothes, Netflix subscriptions, Hulu, vacations, anything that you know that's part of your lifestyle, it takes care of it, okay? But what do you notice? There's no bucket underneath that either, which means when it's gone, it's what? It's gone, okay? And then, but what typically should be happening is that we should be having money typically go up into this tank, these two tanks, okay? The risk tank and the safe tank. This is typically how it should be flowing because you should be having some money going in the risk tank, some going in the safe tank, okay? And then what happens is when you retire, you should be able to turn on the distribution valves. And now the money that's in the risk tank and the safe tank should now be going through this pipe to now fund what? Your future lifestyle, which at that point is going to be what? Your current lifestyle, okay? And you want your future lifestyle to be what? Better or the same, at least, that it is today. But you definitely don't want it worse. But I don't know about you. My lifestyle now is, it's okay. But I definitely want to be a better lifestyle when I'm older. I want to be the elderly grandparent that Mima got money. Mama got money. Okay. And mama's just chilling. Okay. So I want it to be better, but that's generally how it should go. Right. Now, one thing I want to show you is I'm going to actually go back in here. Okay. And one thing I didn't look at is right here. You see where it says qualified plan? Qualified plan up here. This is typically how some of us on the call are. You go to work, you make your money. They tell you put some money in your 401k or your TSP or your SEP or anything like that, and then the money go in here, right? And then what did the government do? They said, oh, put money in there. Let's say somebody made $1,000. They said, put $200 in this risk tank, and we're only going to tax you on the 800. Okay. Now, you probably excited, like I'm only getting taxed on $800 and I put away $200. Now you're excited, right? And if you're anything like me, and why do I share a lot of stuff like me? Because I need y'all to understand, even though I'm sharing with you, it's just because it's knowledge I learned and I'm sharing the knowledge with you, but I didn't know, okay? Because when I was 20 and I had a job, many of you who have worked with me know this, I said, ooh, I don't need to save no money. I'm gonna get Social Security. I thought it was my savings account that the government is saving money for me. Cool. Because why? Because remember, my parents are Haitian immigrants. I didn't have nobody to really teach me this financial literacy. So you have the money, it goes in here. But what the government doesn't tell you is this. So let me stop right here. Okay. So now what they don't tell you is that when you do retire, okay, and another tip, if you want it, qualified plans were introduced in the 80s, okay? They were introduced in the 80s to be able to deter people from dumping money into these policies. Why? Because the government realized they didn't have their hand in it, okay? They didn't have their hand in the pot. So they said, let's create something that's going to incentivize the companies, which is why the companies do the company match, okay? That's going to incentivize the companies and also make people say, I want to put all my money in here, okay? Because that's where the money's going to be. But imagine this. You're saving every time you get paid. And let me back up real quick. I don't want anyone to think that me talking this way is saying don't put money in your 401k. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm very old school, where just like I talked about those sacks. Remember I said you got the different sacks? You got different sacks. All I'm saying is you want to make sure if you're going to say I'm building something for my legacy, you cannot say you're building something for your legacy if you don't have this of what we've been talking about in your arsenal, a family banking arsenal. You can't say you're building something for your legacy. You're doing a great job, but you can't say you have the most powerful legacy plan built up. Think about it like the Power Rangers. If anybody grew up with the Power Rangers, remember how separate they was good, but combined, they created the whole big old Power Ranger thing? That's what you want to think about, okay? So now, they created those qualified plans to be able to get people to say, yes, I'm gonna put money in there. They're gonna charge me less taxes because now they're not as after tax, right? They're gonna charge, I'm gonna pay less taxes. But what they don't tell you is this. Imagine this. Every time you get paid, I want everybody to imagine that in the back of your house, you have a well, okay? And the well, you are like, it's a deep well, can't nobody get down there. And I'm the one with the magic ladder to get down that well, okay? Every time you get paid, you throw money down in the well because you're like, can't nobody get there, okay? Now, what happens is now it comes time for you to retire. And you're like, okay, well, it's time for me to retire. Let me go get my money out the well. You're like, oh, I done got all this money. But when you go down the well, you use your magic ladder, you get to the bottom, you turn on the light. What you don't realize, and you turn on that light, what you don't realize is that there's someone sitting down there. Who is sitting down there? Your business partner. But my business partner got me already at the tax filter. All right. But then they got you to put money here also so they could get you a second time. Okay. So now you turn on the light, and on the table, you have the ones are crisp and nicely, laid out, banded up. You got the 5s, the 10s, that they done laid it out for you real nice. And then what do? They take their portion. And if taxes go down, they're going to take less. But if taxes go up, they're going to take more. Okay. And we just talked about when I gave you those stats about the tax and what happened around wartime. I ain't saying something, but I'm saying something. If I ain't saying something, if you're following me. Okay. So that means if they want to raise it, they can raise it. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. If it goes down, they'll take less. And you can say, well, I got money in a Roth IRA. That's great too. But they already got you anyways because it went through the inflow. They got you at the tax filter and then you dumped it in. That's why you can take it out tax-free. But remember, what tank are both of these in? They're both subject to what? Market volatility. I mean, you can wake up just like the Great Depression and you have nothing left. Okay. So again, I'm not saying don't have anything in the risk tank. What I'm saying is, remember those sacks? This is one of the sacks, but you got to have something else that's somewhere in a different sack that's protected. Y'all following me? So then you have over here, you have the safe tank. Okay. Now the safe tank, you see who's in there also. Because some people be thinking your business partner ain't in there either. Yes, they are. Go put your money in the savings account and let you earn some interest. Your bank is going to make sure January, they're going to send out that paperwork and you got to report your taxes. How do I know? Because back in the day, I remember I got one for $1.34 of interest. I had to, they sent it. They want you to report that. Okay. So you have the funds there. And then you have other kind of accounts that you could put money in and it's safe, right? That's pretty safe. So if we kind of just say this person has like a mixture like this, that's good. That's pretty good, right? But same thing with this. There's some caveats that go on there. Now, before I jump into that caveat, can y'all mute? You know, I did hear something, but I don't know. I thought it was me. I don't know. I don't know why I thought I had like a bag of something crumbling and I just assumed it was me, but it's not me. But I don't know if that was Tavares or someone needs to be. I don't know how that works. But excuse me. So I'm going to break down this, but I want to show you this real quick. Remember how I said the money comes through the after-tax cash flow? Well, remember I tell you when I was 20 and I was like, every time I got my paycheck, I'm spending the money because I'm like, I'm going to get Social Security when I'm older, right? And my daughter who thought she was going to get a job or 2 jobs and thought she was going to be YOLO and spend all her money. But this was me. And you see what happened to my future self? This pipe right here, there's nothing there because I was like, YOLO, I'm about to get Social Security. They're going to pay me. And now I'm up here and they talking about we might not even make it to Social Security. So imagine if I still had that mindset this whole time. I'm like, yeah, we're going to get Social Security. And then I find out we don't get nothing. Okay. But then you have some people who are like, I am nickel and diming myself. I am noodles and bread because no, I can't go hang out with y'all because I'm preparing for my future. Well, now you can't really enjoy your lifestyle while you can actually do stuff like run and jump and skip and hop, right? Because when you are older, you don't know what's going to change. So now you're unbalanced. You either spending too much in your current and you're saving nothing for your future, or you're putting everything for your future and you're not enjoying your current. So the goal is to get you balanced, okay? But y'all with me? I'm almost there. Y'all with me still? Am I still good? Because y'all got to let me know.
I'm with you.
Yeah, you good.
Okay, good. Because, some presenters be like, okay, I'm going to wrap up and I'm going to move. If I got time, everybody who's worked with me knows I give you the time. If I got the time, as long as you're willing to take the time. But if you have to go, that's okay. So now let's talk about it. So if we're talking about the savings tank, right? So you might be like, well, Gerda, the savings tank got a lid on it. You're right. It does. Right? It's in the safe tank. But I'm going to give you an example. Let's just say, now we're getting into thinking like the bank. Let's just say you have 100K, and here go the scribble scrabble, y'all, but y'all gonna understand. So I'm gonna try to move slow to make it prettier. Let's just say you have 100K in this bucket, okay? And let me pause it because I'm gonna take this down and I'm just gonna make it show the green, right? Let's just say you have this in the bucket, okay? 100K. Y'all with me? Now, you then say, I wanna take out everyone, I want to take out 30K to go buy a property or to do investments or to buy myself a car. Okay. Why am I giving these different examples? Because what I tell my clients is when you are getting this, it's not one of those things you're like, I'm gonna go get money and I ain't gonna pay it back. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. They're not gonna ask you what you're gonna do with it. Okay. They don't care. But I always tell people you want to use, when you are using and you're thinking like a bank, you want to use it for a major capital purchase, okay? Or you want to use it for an investment. But what's a major capital purchase? Major capital purchases is anything you cannot buy with your normal monthly cash flow. which means if you want to take a vacation with your family because you worked hard and you're like, I'm retired, I want to go chill, or I've been working hard, I'm going to take out 20K out of this 100K and I'm going to take my family on a month trip. You can do that. Why? Because that's a major capital purchase, which means you can't go on that family trip with your normal monthly income. Y'all following me? The other piece is the investments. Well, let's say you wanted to take out this 30K because Amazon split the stock in half or whatever they did and yada yada, and you like, it's a deal, or I'm gonna go buy Bitcoin because whatever is going on, or XRP. I've been following XRP since 2020. I got it for 19 cents. But you want to go get more of something, right? Well, this is where you want to go to get the money to go do the investments. Because why? Because if you lose that 30K in that Bitcoin and it's gone, right? Then if it's in something, not the savings account, you'll be able to earn money still on it. What do I mean by that? Before I get there, let's get here. So this 100K is in this cup, okay? You take out 30K. This cup is your savings account, Bank of America, Navy Federal, whatever. You take out 30K to go do this investment. You are now left with 70K, okay? Y'all follow me so far? Now, what has happened? You have given up the opportunity forever. It's called opportunity cost. You have given up the opportunity forever to earn interest on this 30K. Because now when you took this 30K out, all you're earning interest on is 70K. And you might say, well, Gerda, what if I put the 30K back in 3 months? What if I put it back in a year? Now I'm back to 100K. Yeah, you'll be back to 100K, but every day that went by, while you was trying to make that 30K back to put back in your cup, you lost the opportunity to earn interest on that 30K. That's why it's gone forever, because every day that goes by, you're losing the opportunity of earning interest on that 30K daily had you kept it in there. Everybody follow me so far? Put like a 1 in the chat or a 5 in the chat so I can make sure that you're understanding. Because I'm not a fast talker like these people, that you see. I really want to make sure you understand. Okay, good. So now that's that. Everybody got it? Okay, boom. So now when we talk about this, when we start thinking about becoming your own bank, we want to put our funds in something that not only protects our money while we're alive, gives us access to things, allows us to build a benefit that's going to help us with our living benefits when we get older, but also is going to protect our family and make sure our heirs don't start at zero. And what is that? That's cash value insurance. Okay. You see how it's also in this safe tank. Now, I'm going to give you that same scenario. Same scenario. You have 100K, and the 100K is this green portion, okay? Y'all following me? The 100K is the green portion. You decide which is your cash value, okay? Your family bank, your private reserve. You decide, I want to take out 30K to make a major capital purchase, whatever that is. Go on a trip, buy a car, put on an investment property, whatever the case may be. You take out that 30K. Now, I like to call this the cup. Anybody who's seen it, this is your cup. And this number right here is your statement amount. Y'all following me? Statement amount and then cup. So the statement is showing 100K. You took out 30K to go do whatever you needed to do. Your cup now has 70K in it. We good so far? Why? Because you took out the 30K. However, because it is in this cash value private reserve, you took out the 30K, but you're still earning interest on the 100K as if you never touched it. What does that mean? That means, let's assume that you were getting 5%. Let's assume you got 5%, which means next year, if you earn 5% off this on this 100K, what's your balance next? What's your statement amount next year? Put it in the chat, please, because I need to make sure that, and if it's wrong, it's okay. It's okay, because I'm going to explain it. But I just need to make sure that we're here and we're still following. So you got 100K, you earned 5%. What's your balance? Yes, 105. That's your balance because you earned 5% on the 100K. So now you have 105,000. Okay. You earned how much? 5,000 in interest. So now this is your new what? Is this your new statement amount or is this your new cup amount? Statement amount or cup amount? Yes, Reginald, statement amount. Now, remember you took out the 30K. Your cup amount has 70K. Your 100K kept earning interest as if you never even touched this 30K. Okay. But why is that? Everybody always says take the money out and keep growing like you never touch it, but nobody really explains it. Why is that? Because this 30K, the insurance company has a lien on it. What do I mean by that? Because you took 30K out as a policy loan. We don't do withdrawals around here, okay? We do policy loans. Why? Policy loans aren't taxed. Okay? That's where the tax-free portion comes in, okay? So you took out 30K. And the way I like to explain it is this. You have a cup, right? You have a piggy bank. And you say, my piggy bank has 100K in it. I'm the insurance company, me. You come to me and say, Gerda, can you hold my piggy bank? It got 100K in it. And I know I'll be using these little kid analogies, but y'all sue me. I got a baby. She's not a baby. She's 17. But you come to me and say, I got a piggy bank. I need you to hold it for me. And I say, okay, Kim, I'm going to put your piggy bank with 100K in it in my kitchen cabinet in my house, which means you can't get to it because it's in my house, in my kitchen cabinet. Okay. Now you go about your business and then you come back and you say, oh, Gerda, I need to get to my piggy bank because I need to take out 30K, right? Remember, this is our example. I need to take out 30K to go get a property or to buy a car, take my family on vacation. I need to get my piggy bank. So you start walking. First of all, don't walk in nobody's house without them inviting you in. But you start walking. I'm like, oh, hold on, Kim, hold on. Instead of you going to your piggy bank to take out the 30K out of your piggy bank. Why is that? Because remember, we don't do withdrawals. We do policy loans. Instead of you going to your piggy bank and withdrawing 30K from your piggy bank, because that's what it will be if you took it out your piggy bank, let me give you the 30K out of my pocket. Okay. Why am I freely giving it to you? I'm not asking you what's your credit score. I'm not asking you what's in your bank account. I ask you none of that. Let me give you the 30K out of my pocket. Why? Because guess what? Your piggy bank is in my kitchen cabinet in my house. So if you don't never come pay me back my 30K, it's going to come a time when somebody going to need to come collect this piggy bank. And when they do, I'm going to give them what's left, but I'm going to take my 30K out. However, your cup, the reason why I told you to leave it in my cabinet, in my house, and you don't touch it, you take money from me and I'll loan it to you and leave your cup in the kitchen cabinet and leave your 100K alone. Why? Because I want you to still earn interest on it. Does that make sense? That's how you're still earning interest as if you never touch it because you really didn't touch it. You're taking a policy loan and the insurance company is giving you a loan because they got access to your money. So it's like, I don't care if you came back the very next day and say you need another 10,000. I'm giving it to you. Why? Because you got 100K in your cup that's in your piggy bank that's in my kitchen cabinet in my house. You come back the very next week, you need another 10K. I'm going to give it to you because now you at what? 50K because you took 30 the first time. You came back the next day, took 10. You came back next week and wanted 10. Now guess what? I got a lien on what? 50K of your money. So which means you come back, you take some more. I got another lien on it. That's fine. But you guess what's still earning interest? This statement amount. Everybody following me so far? Good. You can put up, if you're on camera, you can put a thumbs up. You can put something in there. Okay, cool. Okay. Now, what happens is, now it gets a little deeper than this, okay? But one thing I do want to leave a tip, Why am I leaving a tip? Because some of you on this call already have an IUL or a whole life or whatever, right? And many people that I've met with who've had these policies have run into issues themselves with what they were sold. And many people who may have it may not run into an issue, but you weren't educated to understand the nuances of this. Remember them things I was telling you? Everybody, just because you got a car don't mean all cars are the same. And just because you got something and somebody I say, I got an IUL, I'm gonna log off this call. I'm good because I got one and I know what it is. Well, do you really know? Do you know the nuts and bolts? Well, here's a nut and bolt, a tip. If you took this 30K out, okay, and you are my client, and you take this 30K out, and I'm gonna clear the screen because I don't want to be confusing. And you're my client, and you take this 30K out. So again, you got the 100K. Now it's gonna be sloppy because I'm trying to move a little quicker, okay? So you got the 30K that you're going to take out. The 100K is the statement amount. You took the 30K out, right? Y'all following me? Okay. And then that leaves your cup. Why do I draw the cup? Because we're talking about a cash value policy here. Your cup, your piggy bank still has 70K in there. Well, no, your piggy bank still has 100K. That's why you're earning it. But the cup amount has 70K. Okay. Which means if I gave you the 30K, from my money because I got to lean on that 30K and you came back and say you need to borrow 80K the next day, I'm gonna be like, nah, I'm not giving that to you, Jakor, because you only got 70K in there. You following me? Okay. So now what happens is you took this 30K. We know the insurance company has a lien on the 30K. They gave you the loan. You're earning interest on this 100K as if you never touched it. Okay. And I'm gonna put insurance here. Now, when you took this 30K, let's talk about it. So, because a lot of people say you take the money and you don't have to pay it back if you don't want to. Well, what I tell my clients all the time, and just like what I told you earlier, if you're so pressed to pay Bank of America that 10, 20, 30K loan you just took, and that's why you can't let me borrow no money because you got to pay your loan on time or your loan payment every month, why are you not respecting your bank to say I need a strategy on when to pay it back? Because when you took this 30K, they're not going to say to you, hey, Alexander, you took this 30K. You're going to have to start paying us back in 30 days, and this is your monthly payment. They're not going to do that. You took your 30K. You now, as the bank, are you following me? Bank on yourself, becoming your own bank. You now have to determine when you're going to put that 30K back in, if you do. Okay. Why do I always tell people put it back in? Because listen, if it's your family bank, why are you not going to respect yourself enough to say, I took the 30K, now I'm going to put it back in. You may say, I'm going to put it back in next year. You may say, oh, I got a plan. I'm going to spread it out across 3 years. It don't matter, but what's your plan? But one thing I tell my clients all the time is that if you don't have a plan, for example, let's say you took the 30K out and you're like, oh, I just got a lot going on. I haven't really thought through when I'm going to start, putting the 30K back in. One thing you better do, and this is the tip, always, always pay the interest back before your policy anniversary date. What do I mean by that? When you took this 30K, they're going to say, okay, for example, they're going to say, okay, we're going to give you this 30K on 5.6% policy loan. And actually, I'm going to back up a little bit. Why am I backing up? Because I'm going to give y'all a real life example, my example, okay? So let's just say in this particular policy, hold on, how do I do this? This one had 50K cash value, right? Remember, this is the statement amount. Y'all listening? Y'all with me? I ain't looking at y'all right now, so I don't know. 50K statement amount. I took out 10K. This is a real life. I'm giving you my example, okay? Because what I explain to my clients, I don't explain nothing that I don't do, okay? And people who work with me know a lot of times when they telling me, Gerda, this is what I was thinking, I always tell them, if it was me, I think about what I would do. WWGD, what would Gerda do, okay? So in this example, 50K, I took out 10K, y'all. Why? My daughter just graduated. I had to pay for some stuff. I had to pay for party, do all this other stuff, right? I took out 10K at 5.6% interest. This is simple interest. It's not what you have at the bank. Remember, if you took a loan at the bank, they might say your payment is 1,000, but 800 going to interest, 200 going to principal. No, I took out 10K at 5.6% interest. So that's a total of what? 560 of interest. You following me so far? Yeah, with me? You can come off mute and say something, or you can put something in the chat because I'm kind of trying to do both.
Yes, we are. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So now what I do, right? And not what I do, but this is how it kind of works. So that's saying for the year, why do I mean year? We talk about policy periods. What do I mean by that? Let's pretend that my policy period is from January to January, which means every year is from January to January. Let's pretend I'm in like my third year of my policy, okay? Well, in this second one that I got, it is a third year, okay? So I'm in my third year of my policy. My policy period, mine, Gerda, is November to November. You following me? It's November to November. So that means that if I took this loan out at the beginning of November of last year, okay, I have up until November of this year, my policy period, 12 months. If I took it at the beginning of my policy period of November, at the end of my policy period, when it renews in November, I got 12 months. The total interest that I would be paying would be $560 on the 10K that I borrowed. Y'all follow me? But I didn't take the 10K. And y'all could like, if you want to unmute and be like, yeah, instead of putting like in the chat, you could do that because it, but that means that I took it at the beginning of November to the end of November. That's 560, 365 days. At the end of this 365 days, I should pay 560 in interest. Okay. Yes, it's simple interest. Now, I didn't take this 10K in November of last year. My policy anniversary is November 28th. Okay. Y'all follow me? I didn't take this 10K.
Yeah.
I took it in, thank you, King. I took it in May. Well, not May, I think April, whatever. Let's just say May. I took it in May. So we have June, July, August, September, October, November, 6 months till my policy anniversary, right? 6 months. So all I'm trying to do is just kind of explain it in the background, okay? 6 months times 30 days. We know some months have 31 days, but we're not talking about that. But 6 months times 30 days, okay? That's 180 days, right? So now what I'm doing is I'm going to take this $560, which is what I would have paid total interest across 365 days if I took it at the beginning of my policy period of November to the end of my policy period. Y'all following me? But I'm going to take 560, I'm going to divide it by 365 days to get the daily interest. Y'all with me so far? So the daily interest is about $1.53. Okay? Which means if I took this 10K at the beginning of November, by the end of my time before my policy period anniversary date, I would have had owed 560 in interest. Okay, simple interest. But I took it in May. That's 6 months from my policy anniversary date. From May to November, that's 180 days. Y'all with me so far? I'm doing a little math with y'all. 180 days times $1.53. That's $276, more or less, right? And 14 cents that I'm going to have to pay to borrow this 10K that I just took in May. Please put a 1 if you're following me so far before I go further.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that means that if I don't pay, someone had asked a question in the chat that I want to refer to. They said, is that a set interest at 560 or does it grow? It's simple interest. It's the 560 is if I took it, that's across 365 days. I don't got 365 days. I got 180 days and it's at 153 a day. So it's going to be about 276.14 in interest that I'm going to be paying on this 10K. Y'all with me? Okay, great. So let's just say that my policy anniversary, which is November 28th, let's just say I forgot because it was holiday season and I'm just chilling and I'm doing my thing. Now we're on December 1st, right? What happened? I forgot to pay my interest. This is my interest, okay? I forgot to pay my interest before my policy anniversary date. So now my balance is no longer 10K. It's $10,276.14. Everybody follow me so far?
Mhm.
Okay. Now it gets a little deeper, because what people are not telling you is when you take these policy loans, there's different type of loans you can take. Okay. And if you don't know what kind of loan there is and you're just assuming, oh, they told me I could take a loan and I'm good, you might pick the wrong one. There are some insurance companies that have a waiting period. You do have to wait, right? With the IUL, you can't touch the money in the first year anyways, okay? The second year may be what's a standard loan, which basically means if you have 50K in that cup and you take out 10K to go do a deal, you're only going to earn interest on the 40K. That's a standard loan. Standard loan is available to you, okay? But then there's what's called participating variable loan. That's what I always take. I don't know about you. You can do what you want to do, but I'm just here to educate you. Me, Gerda, I take participating variable. Why? You might be like, well, Gerda is variable. It don't matter because my cap, my interest rate is never going to go higher than 6%. So they're telling me it's going to be anywhere between 2 to 6% year to year as I take out loans. You get what I'm saying? I don't care because the highest I'm going to ever do is 6%. I just took one out. It was at 5.6, which means, let's say I forgot to pay this $276.14 before my anniversary date. Now it's December 1st. My anniversary date was November 28th. Now it's December 1st. They added the $276.14 on top of my 10K because I forgot to pay before anniversary. Y'all with me? Now, guess what? My policy has renewed. Okay. Now we passed November 28th. It's renewed. So now I still have an outstanding loan. And because I have a participating variable loan, let's just say my interest rate is now 5% for this policy period from November to November. Y'all following me? Now this policy period, I still have an outstanding loan of $276.14, but now it's at 5%. You following me? So what's happening is that now, because I didn't pay the interest before my anniversary date, it was added onto the principal, which means that just like you could be earning compounding interest on the front end, remember how you had the 100K in the statement amount, you're earning that compounding interest because next year, that 105 that you earned, remember how you had earned that 5,000? Now, let's say you earn 10%. Now you at 115,000 because you just earned 10,500 of interest. It's compounding interest. That's the power, the eighth wonder of the world, compounding interest is on the front end. But what people are not sitting here taking the time to educate you is that it's also on the back end if you don't know. You following me? Which is why when everybody on social media is saying, take your money out, you don't have to pay it back if you don't want to. If you don't got to, they're going to take it out to death benefit. That's partly true. Because if I don't pay that 10K back, they're going to take it out, the $476,000 death benefit. I don't care, right? But what they're not telling you is that if you don't pay nothing back, so don't be going in there if you already got an IUL, don't be going in and taking all these loans out because guess what's going to happen? You're going to have interest compounding, which means if I don't pay this $10,276.14 back, by the time now, let's see, by the time November 28th of 2026, and I don't pay this back, and let's say I let December 1st of 2026 hit, and I'm like, shoot, I forgot to pay my interest back. So now what's my interest? I'm going to do 5% times $10,276.14. That's now my interest that I owe on it. Remember, simple interest. Now it's $513.81. And someone might say, oh, that's fine, but it's more than what you would have been paying. Because had you paid this $276.14 before your anniversary date, what would be your principal? It would still be $10,000. Which means when the 5% hits for the next policy period, you're just paying $500 interest on 10K. And you might say, well, it's not that big difference from this for now, because guess what? If I forget to pay this 513 before my next anniversary date, because this is the interest, right? Because remember, people telling on social media, take the money out, you ain't got to pay it back if you don't want to, right? Well, guess what? This 513, because I didn't pay my interest before the anniversary date, plus the 276 Now my principal is $10,789.14. So when my policy renews, it does what? It's now going to be going off of my principal amount. Do you see how it's, if you don't pay back the interest before your anniversary date of any loan that you take out or loans, it will compound on the back end. Y'all following me? So even if I took out this 10K and it was at 5.6%, and let's just say next week, I decide I want to take another 10K out, right? Well, now I got 2 policy loans out, and that's a total, since I already took it out in May, now I'm going to calculate from when? From June to November, however many days, times $1.53, and that's going to tell me how much interest on top of the $276.14 that I got to pay before November 28th. So if you take anything from this, and when you take payments, do you have to specify? Yeah. When you make payments, you're already going to have your monthly premium payment on auto pay, because insurance companies like auto pay. Okay. You're already going to have it on auto pay. Let's say your monthly payment is $200. You're already going to have that on auto pay. That's going to pay your premium, and then the other portion is going to go in your cash value, right? But if you like, oh, I want to pay $200, right, extra, you have to just let them know, are you putting this $200 extra into your cash value? Or are you putting $200 towards the 10K? Or are you putting $200 to pay towards your interest based on what you've accumulated? Because if I log into my phone right now to my policy loan, I've accumulated probably like $66 in interest. I can pay that $66 in interest right now while I'm on the call with you guys. And then what's going to happen tomorrow? It's just going to keep accumulating, but it's going to be back to zero, but it's going to show $1 something, and it's going to keep going. Y'all following me? So I know we kind of went over, and I want to stop because it's late and I want people to have opportunity to ask questions, but I wanted to be able to share that with you all. And give me 1 second. All right. Because those who know me, like I be going, y'all. I be going. Like I just love to teach and love to educate. So like we kind of just said, it starts now. So you're already in these calls with Christina. You're on these master classes that different people come on. You getting knowledge, you writing. I want you to go back to your policies if you already have one. I want you to look at it. I want you to understand. If you don't understand it, call your agent, ask questions. If your agent is confused, call the insurance company and ask questions. If you have a term, call them and ask them, is my term convertible? If they say it is, well, how much can I convert? Is it all, or is it a portion that I can convert, right? You ask them, how much is it going to cost for you to convert? If they say it's going to cost this much, well, then ask them, well, if I don't convert, if you have a $500,000 term and you ask them how much is it going to cost to convert 500,000, and you're like, that's a lot of money. Well, ask them how much it's going to cost to convert 200. How much is it going to cost to convert 300, right? Those are what you want to ask. Does it come with living benefits? Can I convert it to an IUL? Can I convert it to a whole? What are my options? These are questions you need to be asking, right? But your legacy starts now. Building a financial legacy that lasts, right? So these, again, is not something that you're just getting because you think it's a microwave. No, you got to strategize, and now you are going to be in control. So if you are somebody already and I don't believe this for anybody because you all are on the call, you all are in Christina's workshops, you all are watching her YouTubes, you're attending the masterclass. You don't have to, but you are. So that lets me know you're not anyone who makes frivolous or hasty decisions, right? So this is something where you're putting the time, the effort, and the energy. So it means that if you're here and you're learning the knowledge, you're trying to equip yourself to start thinking like the bank. So when you get it, you can move like the bank, you can think like the bank, and you can know these little nuts and bolts on how you need to do your stuff and not be confused when you get it, because it is a powerful thing when you have in your hand. But if you don't know the power that you yield, you're going to yield it wrong to the point you can lose it. So I hope you guys found value in today. And I don't know if Christina's team is going to drop I've been saying fire in the chat all night. I almost say fire in the chat. I don't know if they're going to drop the link in there.
Yes.
But I just want to just thank all of you, and thank you for your time. We appreciate you. I have the little proverbs there. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. So even God was giving us the blueprint. But the thing is, we try to pick and choose what we want to follow. When it comes to the word, we try to pick and choose, right? But a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. So because it's like about to be 10, I want to let y'all go. So I don't know if Christina has time for questions or how that works. Yes, ma'am. I will reach out to you. Let me make a note so I don't forget.
Yeah, so Gerda, do you have time for questions? Because I could definitely open up the floor for Q&A, maybe if we do like 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, that'll be good. I have time for questions. That's perfect.
Okay, I just want to say thank you so much, Gerda, for pouring into the community. We value your time and your expertise in your skills and just all of the wealth of information that you have shared with us today. So I do want to open up the floor for questions. If anyone has any questions for Gerda now while we have her, okay? Because when she gone, she gone. All right. Another thing is I did put her link in the chat. So if you guys are ready to connect with Gerda and her team and you're ready to move forward with setting up your policies, then please go ahead and book a call with her and her team so that you can get the ball rolling and they can help you get into this wealth building vehicle that we all need. Okay. With that being said, I'm opening up the floor for Q&A. So I see Tracy has a question and then Tyrone. And there are some questions in the chat as well.
Thank you, Christina. I just wanted to know what time zone you're in.
I'm in Eastern time zone.
Okay, and so when I do the appointment link, is that in Eastern?
When you do the appointment, it's going to reflect to your time zone.
So
So
it automatically does it. Okay, because I'm in Pacific. Okay.
Oh, Pacific. Yep. So it's going to go to my time on my calendar for my time zone, and then it'll be for your time zone.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Yes, I wanted to ask you what is like, how much of a difference is there between a whole life policy and an IUL?
Yep. So with a whole life policy, you are earning what's called dividends, right? And so that's basically based on the performance of the insurance companies. So let's just say that when you pay your premium, if what they had to pay was less, you pretty much get it like in a return, kind of like, that's why it's participating. So they'll kind of give it back to you. There's not really a set percentage, but if you kind of gauged on average, and again, this is not for every insurance company, I'm only talking about the ones I deal with. On average, if you looked at what it looked in comparison to interest rates, it could be about like a 5%, right? The difference with the IUL is you have the ability and the capacity to earn higher interest, right? Without the risk of your money being in the market, but more so tracking it. So what do I mean by that? You go to a football game and we don't care who's playing. We don't care who wins, who loses. All we're doing is counting how many touchdowns are made in the game. If someone makes 10 touchdowns, we walked away with 10%. If someone made 2, we walked away with 2. If nobody made nothing, 0. So that's why we like to call it 0 is your hero, right? Because your money is tracking certain strategies. Typically, like if it's like in the S&P 500, I know a lot of people always like to throw out S&P 500, but it depends on what strategy Tyrone wants to put it in. You see what I'm saying? But what I do is I have my clients look at who's been performing the best on average. I'm not a SME in the stock markets or anything. I'm just a numbers girl. And I look and I'm like, okay, if on average they've been doing good, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. But the thing with the IULs is you don't really know what interest you're going to earn until after. And when the interest is credited, then we look back and say, okay, you had put it in here, Tyrone. Okay, look good.
Mhm.
Or, ooh, you only got 2% last year. And you might say, oh, I want to move it this time when your policy renews, policy review. But then you might move it and look next year and be like, dang, it went from 2% to 10%. Like I just showed a client, 1 year was 0%. The next 3 years, the people capped out at 10.5%. Okay. So
Okay.
the other difference is the time frame. IULs, you can't access the cash value till a year later. Whole life, you can access the cash value within 30 days. However, when people hear that, they get all excited and stuff. It'd be like, well, if you're just doing $200 a month, and you want to do a whole life because you're excited about accessing the cash value so soon, it's like, it's going to take you at least a year to even build up, or more, like at least 2 years to build up some cash value. You might as well go with an IUL and have the opportunity of possibly earning higher in terms of interest, right? So different nuances, right, that go with that. I have a link, I feel like, if it's okay, I'm gonna, while someone else asks the next question, or Christine, if you could take the next person, I will see if I can find the link for
Yeah.
for you to like get the no, it's included. I'm sorry. It's like a little playbook that I have for my clients that's just included when you book a call. And it's just something that you can read through that explains the differences between the IUL and the whole life. And it's just something I just created to make it a little easier for you guys to be able to reference.
Okay.
All right. You want to take the next person?
Yes. Ambassador Wealth Management.
Yes, my name is Sylvia.
Hello, Miss Sylvia.
Hi. So I was going to ask a question. I just heard you explain the whole life between whole life and IUL. Is the whole life interest or is it dividends?
When you say that again, Miss Sylvia, because you broke up.
So the whole life accumulates interest or does it accumulate dividends? Because I thought that whole life accumulates dividends and IULs accumulate interest.
You are absolutely correct. That is exactly
Okay.
what it is. Mm-hmm.
Now I know you also mentioned that when you take out loans, you take out the but what is it? Participating variable loan?
Yep.
Can you explain why you don't do the standard?
Oh,
Why
yeah.
you want it to fluctuate?
Because I would rather want it to fluctuate because even if I decided not to pay that, oh, what was that?
Going to Pennsylvania.
I'm sorry.
I think that's somebody else
Oh,
talking
sorry.
in the
Okay.
background.
Oh, sorry. Even if I didn't pay, so back to the okay, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if Christina, if you can see. Okay, it went away. Even if I decided that, remember how I told you I took the 10,000 in May to do the things for my
Mhm.
daughter for graduation. Even if I decided that I don't want to pay, I'm gonna be very honest. Before, if you asked me a couple weeks ago, Miss Sylvia, I would have been like, I don't know when I'm gonna pay that 10K back. Be very honest. But what I am gonna make sure I'm paying is that 276 before November 28, my anniversary date. Why? So my interest rate, I mean, so my principal can stay at 10,000. That's one. Why do I not care about that? Because that 10K, if I'm not here anymore, they're just going to take it out of the death benefit. Okay. But why did I take participating variable? Because yes, next year it might be 5%, it might be 5.7, it might be 5.6, but I know it's not going to go higher than 6%. And secondly, because I took participating variable, I'm still earning interest on my 50K as if I never touched it. If I take a standard, remember how I kind of went back to like life insurance and death benefit and kind of calling things what they are with the name? Standard loan is basically that. It's operating like a standard loan, meaning not necessarily when it goes to like the interest side, but more so you have 50K in that cup. I mean, have 50K, you took out 10K, it's still a policy loan, but you're only earning interest now on the 40K that's left in the cup, not the 50K. So that's why I take out participating variable because I don't care about the interest fluctuating for me because I could go every year and just pay the interest. And if you really calculate it, it's just like I told you, I took it out and right now I only from April to now, it's like $60 in interest. I could make that payment right now and then check again in 2 months and make the other 60 and so forth. And I don't care what it changes to because still I'm paying less, but I'm earning interest on my 50K as if I never touched it. I wish I had more time because I wanted to show you guys, hopefully what I'll do is next time I'll come back and I want to present something called How Would You Like to Pay For It? How would you like to pay for it is going to show you now you have this understanding. Now, how do you want to pay for it? If I'm going to go pay for something, am I going to go use my money or am I going to go to my policy and pay for it? Okay. So I do the participating because of that, because I want to keep earning interest on my statement amount as if I never touched it while it grows, because it's not about the interest rate. It's about how much money you put into it and how much money you're earning interest on. Example, if someone has $1,000 in their account and they're earning 10%, someone might be excited and say, oh, Miss Sylvia, you're earning 10% on $1,000. Well, 10% on $1,000 is $100. But what about if I'm earning 10%, or let's say, what about if I'm earning 4% on 500,000? I know that's a large number, but if I'm earning 4% on 500,000, they might be like, dang, you only earn 4%, Gerda? Yeah, but I made $20,000. So that's why you always want it to go off the statement amount as if you never touched it. Because now what's happening, you have the dollar working twice, especially if you use that 10K. Like me, I didn't use the 10K to go to buy to do an investment. I just went and paid for my daughter's stuff. I had the money where I could just go do the cash, but I was like, no, why am I going to do that? I could just do this here. And then when all the stuff is settled for school, then I'll figure out when I'm gonna do the 10K back, right? But I was
Okay.
able to go ahead and do that, take the funds out. But what if I took the 10K out to go put in a stock? Let's say the stock now doubled or whatever, it did a split. I put 10K in a stock. I'm still earning interest on the 50K like I never touched it. Now I earn money twice off the same dollar. I'm earning it in over here in the investment, and I'm earning it still on the statement amount as if I never touched it. And it's the participating variable that does that. But if I took a standard, the standard is going to drop it by whatever. You're only going to earn interest on whatever's left in the cup. I hope that made sense.
Okay, kinda, but I think about it. But the other thing, I don't want to take one more question here. You said something about the interest on an IUL actually fluctuate against the market. It's not directly in the market, but I thought all the products in the insurance industry, period, fluctuate against the market, not just the IULs. None of their products are directly in the market. That's only investments that are directly in the market. Is that correct?
Yep. So when I say not in the market, it essentially means because if it was in the market like a stock or index, right? And it's in there and the S&P 500 tanks, right? Well, what's going to happen? You're going to look in your 401k, you're going to look at your different investment accounts and your balance then went down, right? Whereas over here, when we say it's not directly in the market, directly participating in terms of now your funds being impacted in terms of your balance going low.
Right.
When I say, for instance, and this is just a little tip I kind of want to give people also. So a lot of times people on social media are like, oh, if S&P 500 go to 20%, you won't get 20%. That's not true.
Right.
That's only true. That's only true depending on what strategy you have your money in. But let's just say, and this is an example I'm going to give y'all. I'm going to start talking slow again. I'm sorry, y'all. This is just how I am. But let's just say you have money in an S&P 500 strategy that is point to point. What does point to point mean? It means from the beginning to the end, from point to point. So let's say you have a policy, like my policy period. My policy period is from November to November. So that means November 2020, what year is this? November 2025 to November 2026. That's a point, okay? Point to point. That's a policy period, but this is a point to this point, okay? Now, let's just say that because it's point to point, and I'm doing the way that mine is like annual, which means they credit it annually, okay? But some of them do monthly point to point. That's fine, okay? From this month to this month, point to point. Now, for this example, let's just say it's S&P 500 point to point, November of 2024 to, or I'll use this year, November of 2025, the S&P 500 started at 20%, okay? This is where it's at right now. But then when we look at November of 2026, remember point to point, it started at 20. Now we look at November of 2026, S&P 500 went to 32%. The difference from the 20 to the 32 was 12, okay? But if the cap for S&P 500 point to point, that strategy, let's say the cap is 10.5%. Because it went from November 2025, started at 20, and then to November 2026, it ended at 32. That's a difference of 12%. I'm now going to get what? The cap, 10.5%. Second example, November 2025, S&P 500 started at 20%. November of 2026, the end of the point, remember point to point, it started at 20, it ended at 27. That's 7% difference. I'm going to get what? 7% because the cap is what? 10.5. If it goes higher, if that little gap, that index change, if it is higher than 10.5, I'm going to get the cap. If the index change is lower than 10.5, I'm going to get what I get. Now, if the index change is negative 38, for example, in this strategy, like it was in the housing crash, 2008, negative 38. Well, guess what? I get 0 because the S&P 500 tanked, but 0 is your hero. I got 0% that year. So that's what I mean by it's not in the market, because if it was and it tanked, crash, housing crash, anybody who had money in their policies, it would have been gone because it would have been in the market, participating in the market. But we're just basically, that's kind of like the the simplest term I kind of give people where I say it's not in the market, it's just following it, if that makes sense. But of course, you're right. There are new things that the insurance companies do because that's how they have to do it to make the money, right? But that's just kind of how it is where we could say your money is protected, right, from market volatility. So I hope I answered that.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I don't see any more raised hands in the chat, or not in the chat. What is this called? Participants. So I don't know if Christina had any in the chat or I think I answered a few. Do you need to ensure
Put
you
that link
tell
in that
them?
girl.
Yes, ma'am. Who was that?
Sonia,
Hey, Miss Sonia.
did you put that link in that you was looking for?
Oh, the link. Oh no, because it the attachment comes when you book the appointment. So if you didn't
Okay.
get, so if you have like your older ones, you could be able to find it. But if not, just let me know, and then we'll just send it to you.
Yeah, you had it
I'm
in.
also going to send an email blast tomorrow with the replay and any resources that Gerda's going to provide, okay?
You didn't sure
Okay.
to tell them.
Anthony has his hand up.
Hello, Anthony.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Got a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm a lot older than a lot of folks, and I'm 67. Do you have special policies or direction for someone my age?
Yes, sir. So it's not necessarily a special policy, right? But there may be different focuses that we would have to look at because you are 67, right? So we kind of look at it like you're getting just a later start, right, than everybody else. And so what happens is because you're getting a later start, what a 20-year-old who started with doing $100 a month or $200 a month, right? Now, by the time they're 65, they're going to have over six figures sitting in there and they can stop paying and it just continues to grow. Whereas Mr. Anthony is starting at 67, and depending on what he wants to do, we have to see, is this appropriate, right, for Mr. Anthony? So I would have to sit with you, better understand what's your goals, what do you want to accomplish, how much are you looking? Because I know someone else asked how much do you have to put. It's what's your budget? Because that then helps me determine, can this work for Mr. Anthony, right? So, for example, you might be 67 and say, Gerda, I want to do, and I'm just throwing a number out. I want to do $1,000 a month and I want to dump in 25,000. For example, I'm just throwing something out. Why is Mr. Anthony probably say he want to do that? Because he probably trying to catch up and build a cushion and see how he can do what he do so he could just stop paying after 10 years because he don't want to keep paying for this when he's 97. But you might have another person who's 67 who says they want to do $100, they want to do $200 a month and they want to get started now. And it's like no dump in like Mr. Anthony, but it's like you won't be able to stop in 10 years like you want to. You won't be able to stop in 20. You're going to have to keep going. Or because your age, now you have to pay more because the percentage that's coming out of that $200 payment, right, per month is higher. And I didn't even get to that part yet on how it breaks down because some people might hear $200 a month, $1,000 a month. All of that ain't going to pay for the insurance. That's why it's a cash value component. It's like they're forcing you to save where majority is going to go over here and you want a smaller portion to pay for the death benefit. So, Mr. Anthony, you and I would have to sit down and really discuss what do you want to do? What's your budget? What do you want to accomplish? So that way I can better advise you. And then there may be other strategies, which I can't really talk about, because this is being recorded and all that, other strategies that we would have to talk about to see what other alternatives do we have to be able to support you in your goals.
Sounds good.
Yep. So no lost cause. Trust me. No lost cause. We just got to figure out how we're going to make it work.
It's not about me, it's about the grandkids.
What was that?
It's not about me, it's about the grandkids.
Exactly. Exactly. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And then I think I have time for one more question in the, I guess the hand raised, and then I'll go through the chat. Looks like James. Okay, looks like James is the last question. Awesome. Hello, James.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
All right, just had a question about the infinite banking aspect of it. So let's just say an example for round figures. Let's say I have a $200,000 policy. And let's say my mech is, just say for round figures, 20,000.
Mhm.
So that means I can only put up to 20,000 per year, correct?
Per year for the up to the first 7 years, because the MEC limit, and for anyone who doesn't know, it stands for Modified Endowment Contract. And so
Hmm.
what that means is that just basically means depending on whatever James's budget was when he got the policy, he got a death benefit, and then he got the MEC limit was set by the government, and their hands not in the pot, but think about the MEC limit, everyone, of being the government looking through your window. They can't get in the house, but they just looking, right? Hoping you mess up. So his MEC limit, based on whatever his budget was, is now, or he may have did a dump in or his monthly premium and all of that. So he has a high MEC limit. His MEC limit is 20,000, right? What does that mean? That basically means, I'm just going to throw a number out there, James. He may say he wants to do, uh, what is that, 12,000? James may say he want to do $1,000 a month. That's 12,000 for the year. Okay. And so what happens is, because James wants to do $1,000 a month, that's 12,000 for the year. His MEC limit may be 20, which basically means if James wants to dump in an extra 8,000 per year, he can do that. Okay. Now, if you go over that 20,000, that's a different story. However, his MEC limit is 20. So back to your question, James, you can go up to the 20 for the
Right.
first 7 years. Why? Because it's called a 7-pay test, which means 20 times 7 is 140,000. So that means within this first 7 years of this policy, you cannot pay more than 140,000 into this policy for the first 7 years. Okay. Because your MEC limit is that 20,000, that 7-pay test. After the 7 years, for anyone who's here, whatever your guideline is, that's why I talk to people about wiggle room. You want wiggle room. If you want to keep contributing more after the first 7 years, after the MEC is over, you want to keep contributing more, then you want wiggle room. If you don't care about the wiggle room, fine, that's okay. But just know after that 7 years, if you don't have wiggle room, you can't really dump in any extra money except paying your like normal premium.
Oh, so you're capped after those 7 years? That's the most you can put in?
Nope. So your first 7 years, the most you can put in is your 20K. But
Okay.
after your 7 years, what you want to do is you want to, one, reach out to either your agent or to your carrier, and you
Hmm.
just want to ask them, what's my guideline premium?
Guideline premium.
And yep,
Okay.
guideline premium. Don't say wiggle room, because these, again, nicknames I just be throwing at my clients know. But
Right.
guideline premium. Okay.
Right.
And if
Mhm.
let's say, because when you call now that your policy is in effect, you're going to be calling the client services, which is basically customer service. They're not all in depth in that. So they may not know what you're referencing. So you just say, after my first 7 years, after the MEC period, is there anything that shows you what my premium will then be on how much extra I can add each year after the 7 years of my MEC period? And then they'll be able to tell you.
Okay. And as far as getting back to the infinite banking part of it, as far as like, say, for example, so in that example that I just used, the MEC is 20,000. Let's say I dump, like you say, the 20,000 the first year. Now my policy is, the total policy is worth 220, right? With $20,000 being the cash value and 200 the death benefit. So from there, let's say my income, just from round figures, is $10,000 a month. And then I start to, after the first year, I start to put, well, I guess only mid. So anyway, I'm sorry, you can only put up to 20,000 a year. Let's say, go back to the example. Let's say after that, I put $1,000 a month in, and then after year two, that's 12,000. That's 32,000 after year two, and then from there, I continue to put as much as my up to $20,000 every year.
Mhm.
I could. So, okay, so after, let's just say that example, let's stay with that. I continue to put $1,000 every year. So that's year two, 32,000, year three, 48,000, and then so on, so forth. Um, and every month I take a loan uh out to cover expenses. Like you said, that value, even with me putting that $1,000 into it, still that value, the total value is going to continue to grow. Let's say after what, year four, that's what, 248. the amount of interest that you're talking about is going to be gained on that 248 total, right? With the variable loan.
Um,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah. So let
Did I lose you
No,
a
you
little
didn't
bit?
lose me. So
Okay.
I tend to do this where if you guys ever see me looking around, I promise I'm not watching TV. I'm just processing. And then I repeat what I hear so I can make sure I'm understanding. Okay. So
Mm,
you said you have a, excuse me, a MEC limit of 20,000 and
correct.
you are putting funds in each month. Let's just assume it's 1,000. One thing I do want to pause is let's just say you have the MEC limit of 20,000. Okay.
Right. Uh,
Let's put the MEC limit to the side for a moment. So
okay.
let's pretend that your normal monthly premium is $1,000. That's when you started your
Okay.
policy. You say, I want to do $1,000 a month. That's 12,000 for the year. Everybody follow? 1,000 times 12 months. That's 12,000 for the year. When you pay that 1,000 a month, that entire 1,000 is not going to your cash value. A portion is coming out, and I'm just explaining. Even though you may notice, James, I'm explaining so everybody can follow. A
Okay.
portion of that 1,000 is paying for that $200,000 death benefit you have. So I'm just
Okay.
gonna assume. I'm just gonna throw a number out there. For example, let's just say that $150 comes out every time you pay your $1,000 every month. That $150 comes out and it pays for your $200,000 death benefit. Why? Because you have to pay for the insurance. Everybody with me?
Mhm.
You have to pay for it.
All
So
right.
that $200,000 is paid is $150 a month. When you pay your 1,000, they take out 150. They apply it to they take it out, and that pays for your 200,000 death benefit. But the remaining in this example of 850 goes in your cash value. Okay.
Okay. Mhm.
So in this example, let's just say I just got to put my little calculator out because I was just going to give a random number, but anybody who's a mathematician might be like, Gerda, I don't follow you. So when you pay your $12,000 for the year, why everybody? Because he's paying 1,000 a month. That's his normal premium. They're taking that out of auto pay. At the end of the year, that's 12,000. But remember, they always take out 150 every month when he paid that 1,000, and it pays for his death benefit. The rest of the 850 goes into his cash value. Y'all following me? Which means at the end of the year, $1,800, which is $150 times 12 months, has paid for his death benefit of the 200,000, okay?
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
rest of his funds, which is
850 plus
10,200
plus.
is in his cash value, okay? So now you have you've paid, so now you're saying I did the MEC up to the 20,000. So I'm just going to keep on this example that we're using, okay? And then cuz then I want you to talk back to me about what you want again, like what you're getting at, okay? So
Mhm.
then you're doing 1,000 a month, 150 come out, pay for that 200K, 850 go in cash value, which means at the end of the year, 1,800 is paying for that 200,000. Now you got 10,200 sitting in your cash value. Okay. But you decided every year for the first 7 years, I'm going to go all the way up to the MEC, which is that extra 8,000. So now, since you went up to the MEC, 20,000 is what you paid. But what is
Mhm.
always going to come out for the insurance annually? 1,800. So now 1,800 is still going to come out that 20K to pay for that death
Mhm.
benefit. But now you have 18,200 in your cash value. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got
So
you. I got
now,
you.
let's say you did that for the first 7 years. Every year you was doing 20K, 20K, 20K. But I remember
Right.
every year 1,800 comes out to pay for the insurance. So now you have 18,200 times seven because you've been
Mhm.
doing it for 7 years. Now your cash value, respectfully, right,
Right.
has 127,400. But really it don't. You know that because why? He's earning interest along the way, y'all. So he has more
Mhm.
than 127, but we're gonna make it easy. He got
Mhm.
127,400 in his cash value now.
Mhm.
So then go back to what you were asking me. So now that we have that, and my mind is just processing, you have 127,400 in cash value. You've been doing the
Mhm.
MEC up to 20,000 every year for the first 7 years. You got 127,800 in cash value. Your death
Mhm.
benefit is
It's
no
200,000.
longer 200,000 at this point because it's growing. Why? Because it depends on how it was set. But let's just pretend that it's still 200,000. Okay.
Okay.
Cash value is 127,400. Now, ask me what you were going to ask me now that you have that. Now, ask me if where that question would come in.
So with that being said, you would have your 200,000 death benefit, and you would have your $127,000 cash benefit, which is a total of 327,000, right? So
Mhm.
on that, and let's just say your average return was 10% over that 7 years. So your total policy value would be the 327,000 plus the 10%, which would be what, 32.7, which would be, yeah, what 354, is that, am I doing that right? Yeah, 300, no, $364,000. Is that correct?
Almost in a sense. So
Yeah.
yes and no. So the no is the 327,000 is not your cash value that you're earning interest on. You're only earning interest on the cash value component. So in year one, when you did 20,000, and remember 1,800 paid for death benefit in year one, and the remaining 18,200, was that what it was? 18,200 is your cash value. Let's say you earn 10%. You're going to earn 10% on that 18,200 in the cash value. And whatever
Okay.
that 10% is, let's just make, I don't know, we're gonna make it easy math, okay? I know it's
Okay.
wrong, y'all. This is wrong math. So if you're a mathematician, this is wrong. But let's pretend you earn $2,000 in interest. Now your cash value is now 20,200. And now
Okay.
next year, when you paid your 20,000 in MEC amount, 18,200 is gonna go in there. So now you at $39,000, right?
Mhm,
But
mhm,
now let's say you earn 10%. Again, now you earn 10% on 39,000. Now that's 3,900. Now your balance in the cash value is now, what is that? 42,900.
mhm,
Next year you earn 10%. Again, like you said, now you
mhm.
earn 10% on the 42,900. That's that compounding. But when I
Right.
said kind of sort of with the 327, let's pretend you now have what's called an increasing death benefit. What does
Okay.
that mean? See, that's what I'm saying. This is a rabbit hole that we're gonna have to end soon, y'all, because we're gonna keep spiraling. But now if you have what's called an increasing death benefit, what does that mean? That means your base is at 200,000 always.
Right. Uh-huh.
But then, God forbid, if something were to happen to Bobby, I hope it ain't no Bobby on this call, okay? Okay, but if something happened to a Bobby, okay? Now, is there a Bobby? Oh Lord, somebody speaking? Okay. But let's say something happened to a Bobby, and when something happened to Bobby, Bobby had 127,000 in his cash value.
Okay.
His base is always 200,000 because he got an increasing death benefit. But
Mhm.
Bobby at this point has 127,000 in his cash value. Something now Bobby's not here with us no more. God called him home. Bobby's heirs are going to get the 200,000 base that he's been paying for. Remember, every month 150 was coming out of that thousand he kept paying to pay for the
Right.
200,000. That's that base. If this is called increasing. And then Bobby's heirs are going to get the 127 that's in his cash value for a total death benefit payout of 327,000. So
Mhm.
he's not earning interest on the 327. He's only earning interest on the 127, whatever's in his cash value.
Mhm. Okay.
If it's increasing, his heirs will get the base plus the cash value.
Okay.
And then if Bobby, let's say, is still living and something happens to Bobby and God forbid terminal illness or he can't bathe himself or clothe himself or eat anymore, feed himself. Well, now the insurance company is going to say, well, Bobby, at this point, you have 127,000 sitting in your cash value, but your death benefit is 200,000, for example, still. Let's just say, for example, well, they're going to give Bobby now Bobby, if he has increasing, his death benefit is going to reflect what, 327, right? Now they're going to give
Right.
Bobby a 90 for example, if Bobby had 24 months to live, they're going to give Bobby 90% of that 327. So you kind of see what I'm saying? So that's where those come into play, but that whole amount, that 327 is not what you're going to be earning interest on, it's just going to be the cash value component. Did that make
Yeah.
sense?
Okay. Yeah, that was my question. So you only earn the interest on the cash value, not the
Death
actual.
benefit.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. So it looks like that was the last question. Um, I see. I'm just gonna scroll through real quick, if that's okay, Christina, just to look through the chat. Um, um, let me. So it looks like Raphael. I hope I'm saying that right. I see your question, and yes, when you go through the qualifying call with like the team and stuff, they will. I will just connect with them, and then they will connect you with me. So no worries there. And then. Hey Therese, where you been at, Therese? I ain't gonna say nothing, okay? I'm gonna call you. So, hey Therese, and then let's see. Um, Mandy, do you need to ensure you tell them to make all payments towards interest first? No, it's not even an interest first type thing. Because remember, now that we're thinking like the banks don't necessarily say, I want you to pay, I'm paying this interest. Now, majority of my payment is going towards interest. No, I have a 10K outstanding loan out right now. I took it out at the end of April. If I log in right now, I have about $60 worth of interest. If I wanted to pay $100 right now, I have to now go in my app and I decide, am I putting that 100 in my cash value? Am I putting that 100 towards just paying towards my premium, but it's on auto pay, so I wouldn't do that. But, or am I putting $100 towards my interest, but I can't pay 100 towards my interest because my interest is only so far, it's accrued to only like $66. So now that's where I would decide. So you decide whatever funds you're paying outside of your normal monthly premium that's being withdrawn, you decide how you want it to be paid. Okay, so it keeps compounding backwards. Participating variable. Can you explain why you didn't take the standard loan? Yep, I did. Okay, perfect. And then I'm just going to scroll down. I don't want to go too far up. Okay, multiple scenarios. Perfect, perfect. So it's out of the way. Yeah, you can pay it. Yeah. Like I just said, Mandy, if I wanted to pay the 60 right now I'm back at zero. But then tomorrow is going to accumulate at the 153 per day. And I might decide I want to pay my interest quarterly. I could do that. So I don't have to do the whole 276 at one time. Specify. I want to deal with you directly. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. Yes, Miss Sonia, I'll put you down and I'll have the team give you a call tomorrow so they can get you back on the calendar. Okay. Perfect. Oh, Mandy, thank you so much. Champ, thank you for the fire. What's the average price for a policy? So kind of with the examples I just gave, there's no average price. So Eric, for example, if you are I'm just gonna throw a number out there. If you are a 30-year-old male and you want to do $200 a month, right? But then Emmanuel may be a 35-year-old male and he wants to do $300 a month. Well, what's going to happen is his death benefit is going to be a little different. His MEC is going to be different. A lot of things are different. That's why there's infinite amount of product designs. It's not a one size fits all. So there's no average price. You come to me, we look at your whole financial landscape and we talk about what is a good premium, because you don't want to get a premium that you can't pay, right? So we determine what's a good premium, and that premium then is going to determine based off of your age and your gender. It's going to determine what the insurance company is going to be willing to give you. And the way I structure them, I'm not like everybody else. I do maximum cash value, minimum death benefit. What does that mean? That means I'm trying to see what is the best policy that we could structure for you that's going to make majority. Remember that example I just gave James where I said he paid $1,000 a month, but 150 is paying for the death benefit and 850 going to cash. I want to structure it where majority of the money, even if it was like 300 paying for death benefit and 700 going to cash. You see how majority is going to cash? That's how I want to structure it. So there's no average price for a policy. We would just have to see your demographics. Yes, Tech, you can set it up for your parents and invest on their behalf. Anytime you are getting a policy, there has to be an insurable interest, right? Parents, children, right? You can even do key person insurance. Let's say you and your business partner have a business. Y'all both got y'all families, but now y'all want to have insurance that God forbid if something happens to one of the business partners, you want to be able to have your family taken care of, where now if something happened to this partner, then this cash value is then paid out to either that business partner, for example, so that business partner could possibly buy out your share from your family, right? To then have the business to themselves. So it's like key person, or key person is also where you have a main person. Let's say you run your company and you got your CFO. You want to get insurance on him as key person because God forbid if something happens to that CFO, you want to have some type of funds to keep the operations going, like JCPenney, right? Keep operations going. That's called key person. So yes. Can you open policies if you live abroad? Now, the problem with that is, excuse me. So they do allow foreign nationals, if you live abroad, they allow foreign nationals to get a policy. However, there are stipulations around that where you have to have been living here for the last 9 months, right? So it's different nuances that we would have to discuss. And the other thing about that too is, let's just say someone's like, they ain't gonna know if I'm abroad, right? Because I do a lot of virtual. Well, what happens is if you don't qualify for right away, which is basically rapid issue, which does not require medical exam, right? And it's up to certain age limits. If you don't require uh qualify for that, or even if it's up to a certain age limit, but let's just say when they pull your medical information report from the Medical Information Bureau, which is really surface level, but they do see a lot, right? They may turn around and say, Marlene, yeah, we know that you qualify for rapid issue, but we saw something and now we're flipping it and you have to get a medical exam. And if you're abroad, then it won't work. But again, like I said, there are things for different foreign nationals. So if you have a specific question, you can also email contact@solomonfinancialsolutions.com and we'll be able to get your questions answered. Perfect. When to clarify, does the lien have interest attached to it also? So it's that simple interest we were talking about, right? Don't even think about a lien. They gave you a policy loan, you have a loan interest on it, right? And the lien is just saying, if you don't ever pay them back this money, they're going to take it out your piggy bank when your family comes to collect. So what was that? Okay. Thank you so much. I hope, is it Zaire or Zaire? Thank you so much. Thanks for the gems. Okay, perfect. I think I got, can crypto be used? No, crypto can't be used to purchase or make the premium payments or purchase the policies, but you can use your cash value, right? Because that's a major capital purchase or an investment, you can use your cash value to go get more crypto. So if crypto tank, you at least still earn an interest, right? Yes, it's like a safety net. It's mirroring the market. Love it. Yes. Yes, if your mom is 66, she is still eligible. Because the ages they stopped, if you're past 80 years old, a lot of insurance companies, 80, some stretch it and do 82, some I've seen 85, but typically it's about 80. They don't write policies past 80, regardless of like what time, what age, depending on what kind of insurance. I don't want to say all because it all depends on what type, but I'm talking about these specifics. It's not past 80. So your mom, yes, is eligible. We would just have to talk more about, because your credit is your health. You might as well call it your credit is your health. Okay. And because these are such powerful tools, your health plays a big part in it. And don't be alarmed and be like, dang, I got diabetes. Dang, I got multiple sclerosis, or dang, I got epilepsy. Why did I mention those? Because I have clients with those conditions. So don't count yourself out. Dang, I got high blood pressure. The underwriter probably got high blood pressure, right? Don't count yourself. I always tell people, let me do a risk assessment first. And then, and the risk assessment is me calling the underwriting department and say, hey, I got a client who got high blood pressure or X, Y, and Z. And this is going on. I don't give them your name. I just say, this is what's going on with them, X, Y, and Z, 1, 2, and 3. And then they let me know, oh, okay, no, it wouldn't deny their application, but their rating may change, which just means that in that example we gave James, instead of 150 paying for that 200,000, it might mean, well, this person got this medical issue. We're not going to deny them, but instead of 150, we're going to have to take out 200 every month when they pay the 1,000 for that 200K. I hope that made sense. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, thank you so much, Tavares. Yes. You should be fine with that. Yes. And I'll let the team know. Thank you. Can your trust own the policy? Yes. So your trust can own the policy. You typically, the easier process is to have the policy issued and then switch it over to your trust. The ownership, once the policy is issued, the ownership can change to anyone. However, just know when you're going through the process, if you want the trust to own it outright instead of switching it after the policy is issued, then you there's going to just be additional questions and things like that. Whereas in afterwards, you're submitting a copy of your certificate of trust and you just have to sign documentation stating that you're switching the ownership to the trust. So yes, and the trust can also be the beneficiary as well. You are very welcome, Marlene. Great information. Thank you so much. The underwriter girl, you do, Mandy. The underwriter probably got high blood pressure, high cholesterol. You don't even know, probably diabetes. Okay. Yes. And what is individual? Okay, what if an individual had heart surgery in 2009? And let's see, heart surgery in 2009, leukemia in 2010, and 17-year-old male with Down syndrome. So again, I'm not your type of agent that will say, no, he won't qualify. No, I'm gonna say, let's talk about it because I need to know more because I want to do a risk assessment because I want to hear from them that this would disqualify him or will this change his rating? Okay. Um, oh, brain on fire. But don't worry, I got some, I hope I had some water, but I hope it was a good fire. So, good, good, good. You're so welcome, Jay. Thank you. All right. So it looks like we reached the end, y'all. And I'm like 2 minutes from 10:30. I done kept y'all from 7 to 10:30, and y'all stayed with me for almost 3.5 hours. My mind blown. It didn't feel like 3.5 hours, which is crazy. So, what to me?
Time flies when you're having fun.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, tonight was amazing. I just want to give you kudos and your flowers, Gerda. You did a fantastic job, and I just really appreciate how thorough you are and how you're just able to answer everyone's questions with utmost professionalism and accuracy. So thank you so much for being a valued member of the community. Thank you so much for being one of our trusted educators. And thank you for being you and just being in this space to educate our community on what they need to do next. So
Christina,
that being said, yes, ma'am.
can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to give Miss Gerda her props because she is definitely the best.
Thank you so much,
Especially
She
on
is.
making sure you understand. So whatever questions, if people are on the fence about booking an appointment with Miss Gerda,
Thank you.
don't hesitate because she's gonna make sure you understand before you make any decisions on what you want to do going forward. She's the best, and I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, Miss Kyrie. Thank you. Listen, you saw me cry a couple times on the recording. You're about to
Yes.
try to make me cry again. So,
Well, I get full too because I'm up in age and I really wish I had known this years ago. But Miss Gerda is working with me to a point where it can be beneficial for me now.
yeah,
So I appreciate that.
thank you. I appreciate you too.
I appreciate you too. That is so beautiful.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And you too, Christina. I'm not done with you. I haven't even started. So
Let me up.
All
once
right.
you
Well,
opened up for
you
me,
know I'm here. I ain't
okay.
going nowhere.
I haven't started, so I'll get to you too.
Okay, and
I'm taking the
I'm
baby
gonna hold
steps.
you accountable. Yes,
I
ma'am.
am. I'm taking
It's a
baby steps.
journey.
Yep,
Yes,
it
ma'am.
is.
It
It
is a
is.
journey. So you go at your own pace, okay? But just know that the team is here behind you to assist
Thank
you
you.
in anything and everything that you need.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
You're so welcome.
And
So
I'm sending people to you.
thank
Believe
you, thank you, thank you, thank
Believe
you.
I got family members right now on the fence that really need this, and they're a lot younger than me. My nieces and nephews. So
Oh wow,
this is perfect for them right now.
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
So
We
we'll
have
talk.
an affiliate program. Are you an affiliate? Because
Not
we
yet.
okay.
So sign
Well,
up for it.
yeah, sign up for it so that when the nieces and nephews are ready, you can get 20% commission. So
Okay.
sharing
All right.
is caring.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Have
as
a good
well.
evening, everyone.
Have a good night.
Yes, I want to say thank you to everyone that's on the call. You guys stayed for the whole 3.5 hours. We appreciate you. We love you so much. We do have a masterclass coming for you next week with some big news. So stay tuned and look out for the announcements. Okay, I can't say nothing right now. You got to show up. You got to be present and know what's going on. All right. So with that being said, everyone have an amazing, highly favored, and blessed rest of their day and a fantastic weekend. And we will see you next week for the next masterclass. Okay. Bye.
Night, everyone. Bye.
Good
Bye,
night.
everyone.
Wow.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.